moyo wangu usibabaike. Unaye Mungu mkuu sana, unaye Mungu muweza wa yote. Aliingia rohoni mwangu, kanipa kutulia, kaniambia ewe mwanangu usilie. Aliingia rohoni mwangu, kanipa kutulia, kaniambia ewe mwanangu usilie. Ninajua shida zako, mimi nitazitatua. Bila Yesu mimi ni mtupu. Bila Yesu mimi ni mtupu. Yesu mwanga wangu, kati huzuni Yesu ni kufariji. Kati vita Yesu mwanga wangu, katika njaa Yesu mkate wa uzima. Yesu kimbilio, hatawahi kuniacha. Yesu mwamba wangu, Yesu kimbilio, hatawahi kuniacha.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
I'm all right. How are you? Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Yes, I was just trying. I see you really keep time, and that's good.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So maybe I think there is some little echo from your end.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, there's a small.
All right. Let me go and then come back.
Sure. All right. So. Right. All right, so I'm introducing this topic tonight. It's very easy to join this conversation. I've shared the link on the description of this video. Please use it to join. All right, so I'm trying to get my guests to join. So yes, so you can join shortly. We'll start. How is it now?
I think there is still some echo.
Yeah, but not so.
Still there is echo.
Do you echo?
All right. Let me get headphones.
Right. That's your echo? Okay. There is a our echo now. Maybe you can try again, leave and come back. I'm sorry. Technology tonight tries to fail us. I don't know why.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Huh?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
All right. So we can start this conversation tonight. Let me first. I was expecting to. Okay, I think we have some few network issues, so the guests could not join on time. All of the guests. So maybe let me introduce. So tonight we are having a conversation about the soul of man. So we are having basically discussing about men in this country. There's been so much deliberation on this topic, but we really maybe have to address it now. And maybe since we have Dennis here, before others join this conversation, I want to say it's very easy to join this conversation. But Dennis, I want to maybe point some statistics to you, and then we can start maybe from there. Yeah, statistics, of course, as from men, we have always said that men also cry. Yeah, that's maybe I want to ask you first. Do men cry? Dennis?
Most of them, they may not cry, sobbing the one that you can see, but some do cry. But when a man cries, that could be not a very good scenario, because at the point some men are crying, I mean, they can do anything to you. They are overcome. So it is not easy for a man to cry. And in our African culture, men are not meant to cry. So when a man cries, there must be a very weighty reason as to why he can cry. But mostly when it comes to issues that are affecting men, I want to agree with you that men are suffering in silence. They do not want to openly speak what they sometimes find themselves entangled in. They just play it confidential and they suffer in silence. But it's high time now we came out openly, and maybe if we do so, we're gonna overcome a lot of challenges, because we've seen men kill, but if they speak up, then there would be an alternative way of overcoming whatever quagmire they find themselves entangled in time, just before, instead of suffering in silence and end up doing something not very good. Yes.
Thank you. For that opening statement on this conversation. I can see Reverend Vincent joined. Maybe Reverend Vincent, can you hear us? I'm sorry, we cannot be able to hear you. Sorry, Reverend, we cannot be able to hear you. Maybe can you try to check your audio? Can you check your audio? All right. As he checks his audio, I want to push this to you, Dennis. You have said that also men get this conversation. Sometimes it has become tragic, And sometimes we have seen cases of homicide. But first, I want to say, let's start with this. Has the identity of man been lost in this whole conversation? Because we have seen that also men have been maybe seen in cases of violence against even their loved ones. Do you think that maybe the identity of men in this whole conversation has been lost? Again, we have seen cases of women maybe trying to assault men, even in public. Are we seeing the identity of men being lost in this whole discussion? Dennis.
There is a very serious lapse in terms of what couples should impress. Communication breakdown has brought about the various issues that, like the ones you're talking about. Women fighting their men, and the men fighting their women. But traditionally, men fighting their women was usual. So we are also trying to overcome the traditional practices that were considered normal into modernity. But as it is right now, men are the ones that are being beaten by their wives or by women. So I can say that all over time, men are losing their identity, and there is also a lot of focus that has been put on girl child. We have affirmative action for women. So instead of providing a level playground for all of us, the same way we go to school and we are subjected to same examinations, and you realize that some women or some ladies or girls do better than men. But when it comes to the world of opportunities now, we have to advantage their ground as compared to that of men, that we have to bring opportunities closer to them just because of their gender. We have to come up with affirmative action and such kind of things. We have a lot of initiatives that are directed at empowering girl child.
Are you getting me,
boy
Patrick?
child.
Yes, we are. Yes, we can hear you now. Okay, continue, Dennis.
So in essence, before Reverend comes in my view, there ought to be a level playground for all of us. Gender should not advantage anyone. So by the end of the day, if we proceed in the manner we are proceeding, then boy child is gonna be forgotten. We are glorifying girl child a lot, and the identity of men in the process is gonna be lost. Thank you very much. Let me give an opportunity to Alphonse and Reverend Alois.
Dennis, thank you very much. So I want to mention for every guest joining tonight, our package, you can be able to accommodate everyone. So we have a higher package, so we can be able to. You don't have to leave the studio, anyone. All right. So maybe let me introduce Reverend. Reverend, introduce yourself as we do so, Alphonse, and then we'll proceed with this conversation.
Hello, all. I'm grateful to be here. I'm Reverend Vincent Boyamulo, preacher of the gospel for the last about 40 years. Well, to date, I'm very much concerned about what everybody is thinking about women. Nobody wants to think about the men. So we are getting into a very bad situation. It's actually, okay, I know it's about feminism, and life is a theory, life is an idea. So we cannot have everybody only thinking about women and nobody wants to think about men. Men are being treated as though they don't have emotions, as though they don't have any feelings. They can be trashed and be handled anyhow. At the mercy of in front of a woman, the man has no voice. So can we think in terms of what should be done by this generation to ensure that the men are not dehumanized? Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. So we'll be exploring this conversation. I want to introduce also Alphonse in this conversation. Alphonse.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
My name is Alphonse, and I'm a man. So when you're discussing men, this is at the center of my heart. But again, I must make it very clear that they will never happen, even if we were to try it and do it with all global resources. Men and women will never be equal, even if we want, because that can't be. That is why every world record, we must have a female world record and a male world record. Otherwise, if you are to give it to be world record, depending with the field, there is a specific gender that will take it away. And for example, if it is on athletics, because that requires more, it depends on muscle, and men have more muscle than women in physical activities. It is not an issue of equality. It is a fact that men will always break a higher record. In fact, the 10 fastest men might be faster than the fastest woman. If, for example, I'm just saying if it's a sprint. So the issue that we need to address is issue of humanity. But when it comes to issue of being men and women, I find that the global resources are being misdirected over a long period of time, and the campaign is misplaced. Yeah, but I will get there when we come to the talks. And this is all the way from whether we're looking at it from a cultural perspective, spiritual perspective, and in my field where we look at everybody as a worker, we give you value as a person who is productive in life. And therefore, we say that everybody should be given equal opportunity. And the opportunity, because or as we speak, the opportunity has a skew, we share it equitably, not necessarily equally. But when it comes to equality, that will never exist. But equity, that can be attained.
All right, thank you, Alphonse, for that opening remarks to this conversation. So let me push this to Dennis. So Dennis, your Alphonse is saying men and women can never be equal. Maybe I want to ask you, but when it comes to disability, let me first unmute yourself. There's some echo. So I mean, when it comes to this conversation of equality and also equity, so which is actually the intended for feminism? Is it equity? Is it equality? Because maybe at this point, when we're having this conversation, the agenda has been always about equality. Maybe you can address that.
I want to agree with Alphonse that men and women cannot be the same. However, there is a lot of deception or deceptive notions that have been going on for a long time. That what a man can do, a woman can do better, and such kind of things. But it depends. If it is when it comes to academia, yes, some women have done better than men, but that does not mean they are equal. Therefore, trying to equalize men to women is not really tenable. But again, these terminologies are a little bit confusing. You've talked about equity, and what else? Equity, equity, and what else? There is another equality.
Yes.
I mean, whichever way we look at it, there can never be an equal playground when it comes to, or an equal position when it comes to whatever issue that you're talking about. Men have their position in society and women have their position in society. That is not to say that there are specific roles that are reserved for men that women cannot do, but I mean, you cannot compare the two of them. It is not possible. So let men be men, and let women be women. And this business of creating a better ground or focus being put on girl child or women more than men, I don't think that is the best way forward. Let us agree that we cannot be the same, A man has his position in society, and a woman has her own position in society, and therefore trying to equalize the either gender or both women and men is not tenable and is not possible. So let us agree that there has to be difference.
Right, amazing. Thank you very much, Dennis, for that perspective. I want to introduce Walter. Walter, welcome to this conversation. After you introduce yourself, I want you to actually address this issue about what makes a man, what makes a real man. I mean, we have been told that maybe men are made of steel, we are hardened. But again, from what we have heard, men also cry. So what really makes a real man? Is it that when you actually go through hardships in life and you remain secret and you die, maybe you die before 50 because of conditions that come out of that? Maybe can you try to address that? What?
Thank you so much, Patrick. I hope I'm clear.
Yeah, you are clear, but you have there is some slight issue on your network. I'm not sure for sure if it's so good. Maybe your earphones. Dennis is saying something.
Maybe my network.
No. Plug the headphone.
Is it some noise or?
Yeah, there is some slight.
Okay. How does it sound that way?
Can you try to leave?
Okay.
Good. Thank you, Walter. Let me push this to Reverend. Reverend, you have heard my question because we have always talked about what really makes a man real. What makes a real man? I mean, is it that by showing your hardness to situations, even when you go through emotional and psychological issues, is that what really defined a man?
Well, thank you, Patrick and the team. The issue, okay, well, a man is a man created in God as a man, not a woman. Okay, well, it is hard. Okay, well, how do I want to put it? A man is a man, not a woman. We are naturally different in very many abilities. Okay, well, there are areas where we can do the same. For example, the areas, okay, well, like somebody, Dennis said in academics, well, there's no, but even there, you find at entry level in university, the entry points for girls are lower than the entry points for men. That is society accepting that men have an higher capability than women. So I wonder, when we come to say the absolute equality, to me, it's a dangerous concept that is unnatural. Well, I mean, it becomes worse when we come to look of areas of reproduction. God made men to be very different from women, but we want still to have equality in reproduction. And I'm saying, in this equality in reproduction, when it comes to marriage and husband and wife, it is actually the women that are going to suffer. A man will not be pregnant, and you still want the woman to be made equal to the man. It is not helping them even. So we are creating equality in naturally unequal situations and naturally an equal environment. We want to assume that there is going to be equality. Then we only create a natural environment, and instead of solving the real issues, we start to make side shows, and everybody is talking, and there is a real problem being seen because we want to have an artificial situation where women are the same as men, and it will never happen. So men are men because they are meant to be men. They are masculine. They are men. I don't know whether I'm answering your point.
Great, thank you, Reverend. You're actually answering the point, but I really want I want to get this going forward. Let me loop in actually Monda. You can hear what Reverend is saying, but I want maybe you to address the issue about when it comes to how do we balance actually? How do we live in a harmonized society? Because now we are in a very dangerous situation currently, because it looks like it's a competition between a woman and a man. Monda.
I want to start from. I want to start from your last kind of question. The competition between a man and a woman. Personally, I don't find it bad. Women should be out there. They also compete for the available opportunities. Women should provide leadership. Women should give opinion. Women should participate in everything in our society. They are part and parcel of our society. So competition is not a bad thing. And men should not feel threatened because the women folks are aggressively competing with them in every aspect of life. We should appreciate them. We should see them as co-partners in our society.
Okay.
Now, the next thing, it's about equality. I believe that, you know, when they talk about men and women as equal, they're not talking about men and women just in terms of responsibilities. It is in terms of opportunities. Men and women in our society, they're supposed to be afforded equal and fair opportunities. If it is to school, you know, some time back, during our grandfather's time, boys were given a chance to go to school, women were married off, or they were trained to stay at home, or they were trained how to have babies and take care of men. Yeah. And now the society is saying that men and women should be afforded an equal opportunity. That's where the concept of equality, according to me, that's where the concept of equality comes from. And when we want to talk about equal opportunities, should not lead into fights. When we talk about competing for equal opportunities, does not mean that there should exist conflicts between men and women. It does not mean that we should not humble ourselves before our partners. We men, we also need to humble. Women should be able to humble. So that is what, you know, it's from that perspective when we talk about the society and the opportunities available.
Okay.
Now, when we come to families now, an institution of a family, they have been, they are a man and a woman, they have been married. Then at that particular point, so we have different roles in a family. And it is based on how we are, you know, on how we are exposed in our society. For example, in Kenya, the roles might not be exactly equal. Okay, because we believe that, you know, Kenya is not necessarily a 24-hour economy. People go work during daytime and then they're at home in the evening. But again, now when you go to Europe and the Western countries, again, it's even in the marriage, in terms of family responsibilities, they are exactly equal. Because while while a man is staying with the kids at home, the woman is out at work, working for some hours in a shift. And then when the woman comes home, then a man goes out to work. So you realize that these people, they'll have to swap in between in terms of looking after the kids and the family, and also trying to bring an income in a family. So it's a setup that we're supposed to mutually coexist. We support one another, we empower one another, but not pulling one gender down. That is the problem we have. We have people who are judging men, or we have men who are judging women. But if we just look at it in terms of opportunity and peaceful coexistence, I think it should not be bringing a very big deal of discussion here.
Okay, thank you for your perspective. I really wanted actually Walter to come and address some issue here, but let me push this to Alphonse. So Alphonse, there is an issue about actually men despair, and also issue about men suffering in solitude. Yeah, let's address this issue maybe comprehensively. Maybe can you actually address this issue where men have always held their issues to themselves, and even when we talk about boys club, maybe men have not had a sustainable boys club. Can we talk about how can we actually address the issue of men suffering in despair on their own?
I think men are not suffering in despair. What we need to agree is that men are not women, so that when women get solace in crying by shedding tears, men may not get the same solace by doing the same thing. That should be agreeable. But so one of the reasons why that looked like a major issue is because we are in a constant way of sharing and comparing the female and the male, and everything we expect it to be identical. So it is not supposed to be identical. We are in the animal kingdom, for example. Now, in the animal kingdom, we are among the primates. We are among the mammals. Now, in this group of living things, males do not have moments to share their life with a larger group of their society. So maybe if they so much they have a member or two that they share with either friends or family member. And ideally, people can also look at it from the psychological development perspective. And in psychology, we only develop into two directions. Direction one, we have what we call psychosocial development, where psychologically we develop thinking that we are social beings. So we want to be affirmed. We want to be part of the society by having a friend, having a family member, having somebody who likes us, who loves us, who approves of us. And the other side is where we talk of psychosexual. We want to have sexual relationships so that you reach a point, and this is above 18, 19 years of age, where you gravitate towards having a few circle of people you consider confident. So the lack of these people, and they are rarely three in your lifetime, not just in a single instant. They are rarely three. So these are the people that now makes your life be your life. Now, for males, life is made out of aggression and territory development. So when young people are growing, they're supposed to grow knowing how to develop and create their own territories. Now, whether it's a lion, once it's the age, there's an age you reach and you have to leave your father's territory and go and make your own be in your own territory. So and the same with even the most social of the animals, like elephants, who are extremely closer to us, or baboons or apes. And we are not extreme exceptionals. So one of the reasons why we are struggling with these issues is because we have reached a point in the name of civilization. So we want the males to behave like the females, so that if you have a problem, you go to a salon and you talk it off and come back when you are sorted. Now, for men, they need a place to go and play football or watch the game. Yeah, men are more physical. Women are more emotional, for example. So when men, what we need is to create the space for that physical, not to be physical on another human being. Because if you don't create the space for the man to be physical, then the nearest place to be physical is where they will get physical. And how will they get physical? For example, if they're in a house and their team has lost and they have not been taught how to go get physical, and they are supposed to be physical, then the TV will suffer. Yeah, if they have a spouse, then they are supposed to be physical, and because we have not trained them, and now we here is the adults among the men. If you have not trained them to be physical, then if they get married, then they think frustration from their spouse means their spouse must be subdued through violence. So we need to tell them, how do you push this physical energy? That's one. But the last way in which men also are supposed to be trained, because men release their emotions different from the way women release their emotions. So the other way in which men release their emotions is through ejaculation. I think most at the right time, and we are online, so I will not be clear after me. So in a situation where an adult male has frustration, one of the things that reduces that frustration level to normal is ejaculation.
Okay.
So we must also train men how to have this form of release done without it being a weapon against either animals through bestiality,
Yeah.
children through molestation, or women through sexual violence, or
Okay.
even
Thank
other men through what we call sodomy and such things. So the whole context is, can we rise up as men? Because we were not trained anyway. As much as somebody wants us to train others, and as I'm raising it, we were not trained. If you are born from 1975, coming this side of life, chances are very high you grew when your father was far away. So you only met once in a while if he was present, or he was never present at all. Yeah.
Thank you.
And so the issue is, can we start afresh by asking ourselves the right questions? How do we help young men, newborns who are men, the way to channel their energy so that their energy is not abused to become criminal energy, to become energy that is abused? And this energy can either be social or sexual.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alphonse, for that perspective. Before I come to Dennis, I want to loop in Walter. Walter, I'm sorry, Walter is having some few technical issues. Every time I am trying to bring him on board, he goes off. I'm sorry about that, Walter. But let me come to you, Dennis, and then I'll go to Reverend. Dennis, we have, and maybe we can address this now. Men have been accused of maybe even the I don't want to mention names, the recent case that we saw of Kwamboka, and maybe the other incident we saw in that guy who was actually, the woman was demanding child support on the open. And now maybe I want to ask you, Dennis, are there decent men or men we have been actually put in a circle that men are indecent in terms of taking, and also maybe answering to the comment of Ombui, which he has said that maybe men have married wrong women, and maybe to put that into perspective, how the men perceive some kind of damaged kind of society where we have maybe women who maybe don't understand also how to handle the male species. Maybe can you address that, Dennis?
Yeah, thank you very much. A very pertinent issue has been raised by Alphonse about territory. You know, when you are not in your territory, then you are not a man. So that issue of territory, as small as it may look, is such a big issue. Being in your territory can be interpreted in many ways. It's not just the physical territory. You can be in territory because you've married a lady of your class or a lady who doesn't earn more than you. If a lady earns more than you, then you are a stranger in your own house. You are not in charge of your territory, because by the end of the day now, as we speak now, everything is about your power, financial power, to influence decisions and such kind of things. And you know, a man is supposed to be the leader of a family, of a relationship. So when you have a driver who doesn't know where he's going, or who cannot fuel the vehicle so that he can drive the rest of family wherever he wants the family to go, then it puts a man in a very precarious situation. So territory is a very broader subject that we need to dig into and comprehend how men have been misplaced and replaced by women. Because you know, in reality, you can be a man because you have the manhood, but in reality, you are not the man in your relationship or in your family. It's because you are not able to meet the expenses that you are supposed to meet as a man. And you know, women believe that men are supposed to be providers, and even from the biblical perspective, that men are supposed to be go-getters and such kind of things. I think there are some interpretations, and the Reverend is gonna maybe read that verse for us from the beginning, the role of a man and the role of a woman. And we also find ourselves sandwiched between culture and modernity. Because with modernity, like in culture, culturally, men were not supposed to cook. But right now, men are cooking for their wives. While their wives are seated, men are cooking, and we call it love, which never used to exist in our respective cultures. So we find ourselves in between. Some men have moved or have transited to what we call modernity, and some men are still rigid because, like where I grew up, because the first school a man attends is that of his father. So I attended the school of my father. And in the school of my dad, there are certain things that my dad has never done up to now. And sometimes I also find myself entangled in a situation like that. I'd like to be modern. I'd like to do certain things, but I mean, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I should have learned these things at some point at my father's school. And then lastly, Alphonse talked about ejaculation and such kind of things, because when a man is not able to rise to the occasion, then he ceases to be a man. You cannot stamp authority when you cannot rise to the occasion. And therefore you feel humiliated, you feel inferior and such kind of things. And I want to blame this to some modern practices. Issues to do with masturbation and such kind of things never used to be there. For women, they have sex gadgets and dildos and such kind of things. These things never used to be there. I mean, these are made a man's position in ladies' life a little bit tricky, because the expectation of these women cannot be met by a man if they've been using gadgets, because a man cannot match the performance of a gadget. And therefore, by the end of the day, these men will be looked down because he is being compared with a gadget that this lady has been using. So that is also another aspect through which I want to say that men have lost their position, because gadgets have taken the position of men. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You are bringing a very contentious issue there. Let me put this to send to Reverend. Maybe Reverend, now you can come in, define for us the role of a man from a biblical point of view, as well as let's talk about the issue that actually men, when they go to old age, they find to live in solitude, because most of the time children spend time with their mothers, rather than even knowing that even men, their fathers actually contributed a lot to their success.
Yes.
Reverend?
Well, thank you very much, Patrick, for that. Actually, today I sit and I say that men are in a big trouble. And the whole issue, what is needed is a total mindset change. What am I saying? You know, we have learned westernization. It is westernization that we call civilization. It is westernization that we call Christianity. Very sorry. Then that westernization that we are calling modernization and Christianity, those West, that is Europe and America, they are already morally lost. Talking about marriages in the West and men cook and women cook, remember, there is no marriage in the West. Marriages in the West are dying and are very dead. Why? Because of equality. When we stopped having roles for women and the roles for men and making them the same, we need to open our eyes today and the sea. Yes, it is a line of thought that was put in us by education in the church, right? That we can do what women are doing, and the men can do what men are doing. So we become the same. But you look at what is the impact of it. So I'm saying today we need a total mindset change. And I'm telling the men in Africa and Kenya, the day we stop thinking of in terms of the West are doing this, the West are doing this, that is the day we will have started living. But as of now, as we follow Westernization, we are just getting lost. When I come to the Bible, actually, you know, the Bible is a very good book. I have read it now preached for over 30 years, closing to 40 years, still preaching. So what have there's nothing new. There were still men that were not very wise in the Bible. There were men whose families had where the key breadwinner, the prominent person in that family is the woman, but she still respects the husband very seriously. You have the Shunammite woman. You look at the king and the prophet. They're only mentioning the woman. But the woman is carrying with her a man whom it is only her who knows what he is for. So when today we want to say men must be the providers, I'll read for you Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1. It says, on that day, 7 women will take hold of one man and tell him, we will put our own clothing, we will eat our own food. There is only one thing that we cannot do for ourselves, producing a child. So that is the work that you will give you. And that is the Bible, right? But now we want to say men be equal to women, men be the same as women, women think like men, and all of it, what we are ending up is nowhere. Please, we need to stop thinking like the West, both in the church and in the school. If we don't stop thinking like the West in church and the school, we are going to end up where the West are. That is why I say, today you board a vehicle, say that I'm believing that you go to River Road, take board a vehicle saying I'm going to Mombasa. And on the way you start hearing that we are in Nakuru. My friend, you have to stop and alight. That's what I'm saying. We have to alight from this Westernization vehicle, both in the church and the school, and start thinking again.
Thank you very much, Reverend. You are bringing a very maybe serious discussion there about West and Africa. I want to look in Dr. Mercy. Now, Dr. there's this aspect about the West that Reverend is bringing in, that maybe marriage are actually failing in the West, and there's a high rate of divorce in the West.
Yes.
But maybe I want you to address in terms of the woman in this conversation. Do women really understand where the man stands as per today, and the kind of maybe serious challenges that actually will face men going forward, and those kids, maybe those sons that you are actually bringing forward in this society where we have a very serious divide on this conversation? Dr.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Patrick, I said I will be quiet and listen because I was looking forward to listen.
Oh, you're not bringing.
I just joined in to get some insights. Anyway, okay. I thought this was a man's conversation, so I was just listening in. Is dropping what are the men telling each other. Anyway, I did not prepare myself to address this issue or look at it in any other way. So probably if I start discussing what my understanding, anyway, marriages in the West, I do not think they are failing. I think the women in the West are more woke. They understand that they're human beings and men are also human beings. And so they're demanding respect. They're demanding to be treated as human beings first before being treated as women second. So probably that is something that men over the generations have not been expecting. So probably and the systems in the West allow for the woman to be able to ask and demand for respect, which every human being deserves to be respected and treated as one. So the systems in the West, that's my belief, is that they actually support the demand for respect for sex. Those systems in place and the society structured the way it is in the West, women are just refusing to stay in abusive marriages, refusing to tolerate abuse in the name of humiliation. So when they're saying no to that, we are seeing marriage as modeled, the men enjoying all that they can at the expense of women, crying out now that marriages are failing. I feel like marriage institution is being restructured so that the woman is seen and treated as a human being. That is my input for now.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Patrick, allow Daktari to hold on because she requested.
Oh, and in terms,
yeah, true.
Yes, I promised to keep quiet, and I've really tried.
You have brought
Okay.
you have brought the model about, and this is what I want to push to Alphonse. Alphonse, Dr. is bringing about the model about women in the West are actually refusing to stay in abusive marriages. Now, maybe in terms of Kenya, are men in Kenya contributed to abusive kind of relationship? Are men actually the ultimate people who should bear the biggest responsibility when we are talking about abuse in this case?
In ideal situation, what we are calling marriage should be territorial marking, and women don't participate in that process, whether it is in human beings or in elephants, whether it is in baboons. And I insist that I'm a teacher of biology, I'm a Christian by faith, I'm born again for that matter. I am a Kenyan full-time who has studied in Kenya. And I'm looking at all these things, and as I'm saying, what Reverend was saying is totally true, that we have borrowed the West here, and we think that now that Westernization is our life. For us to have marriage, it's just like to have work. You will not agree with everything, but there must be some chain of command. There must be some form of leadership, of which sometimes can be abused, but the structure should be put in a way that it is fair enough. But fair does not mean that power will be equal. Now, fighting for equal power is what brings the problem. But I think my interest is, why must men unite and start taking care of themselves? That's what you brought us to do here. Yeah. So I don't want us to discuss women and forget to take care of ourselves. We must unite and take care of ourselves. That's the point. So how do we unite and how do we take care of ourselves? That's the discussion I'm expecting us to take. And for us to take that route, number one is that, can we look at men without women in the picture? Because that's what women usually do when they go for women's conference. Now, men's conference, we discuss women. That's why we also go wrong. So can we discuss this thing without mentioning woman? So that we look at, how did your father raise you? How did the father in the neighborhood raise those children? What difference could it have done? And the starting point is that the man is supposed to be the uniting factor of the family. So in families where men don't call shots, they don't demand for women, for children and the entire family to have a family day, then that man has failed. So for us to unite and start taking care of ourselves, those who are already in marriages will take control of saying, I want my family to be united, so that we start thinking of roll call of unity. How can we bring, for example, last year, and I think I've given an example. Last year, I went to my family and I requested my family members who are elderly to me and that earlier in life that let's meet December, and we are meeting, everybody must come, so that we meet as a family. We have somebody with a problem, we mention to them. What somebody is doing right, we mention to them. But also we come up with family objectives. Not all of us will agree, but at least we will have a family direction. Then we also have somebody who is in charge. Do you hear families have a spokesperson? Why is it that your family does not have a spokesperson? Because men do not take that role of uniting that family. So can men take that responsibility for the family? Whether they are in agreement or disagreement with their children or wives, these people still have a role to wait up to them to bring that unity. And in fact, if they bring it, it happens faster. If the lady brings it, there'll be more energy put in place and fewer results than compared to the man. But number two, for us to take care of ourselves, we must be deliberate about the young boys. And in each and every of their stage of development, what are we going to teach them? I was circumcised just like any other Luya boy traditionally. The things I was told, they were horrible. They were disheartening. They were tough. The things, if I was to practice, I will become a criminal the following morning. Yeah. So what do we want to pass on to these young boys and girls? And let's run programs for sexuality where people know that the word sex means being a boy or being a girl. Because when you find it in a form, even at your age, you will feel as male or female, not 15 times a day. So can we start on that right foundation? It is not an activity, it's an identity. And how is this identity related to you, but also to your environment, other people around you? And lastly, so that I don't take time to finish, is for us to unite and start taking care of ourselves, we must start supporting one another from the immediate neighborhood. Have a support system. People you can tell, by the way, me, I'm feeling this way, and I can easily kill, I can easily harm, I can easily beat, so that you get to relieve yourself. And that system is in a position to cool you off, but also guide you through. So when you become too solitary as a male, without guidance, without somebody you look up to, without an authority over you, and that authority should be a male. I hear some women talking of their mother and father. They can't be fathers, regardless of what they do. So you must have a male who is an authority over you, so that even if you are to rise to be a president today, to be a senior person in the corporate world today, they can actually tell you, leave that job, and in the evening I want to see you in my house. If you can't have such a voice that talks to you, you need to know that such systems must be developed for the younger people behind you, but also if you can also get it. But younger people, we must be deliberate that they must have authority as they grow up, so that when they understand authority, they will not ban school. They will know, I am not agreeing with the principle, but banning school is wrong because somebody else will hold me accountable outside this institution. The same with how to obey the boss. You can't obey your boss if you don't have an authority figure in your life. You can't obey your pastor. You can't obey your seniors at workplace. You can't obey your leaders in political circles if you have never grown up in a system where men are taught authority. Lack of it will create violence, will create disorder, will create crime, and will just make it messy. My opinion at that point.
Thank you, Alphonse, for that. Yeah, I want maybe to push this to Dennis. Dennis, in this discussion, even people maybe get lost, especially when we talk about the identity of man and why men must maybe unite and start taking care of themselves. But I want to ask you, Dennis, in this discussion, can we leave the woman out of it? That's one, maybe you can address when we talk about this. Can we leave the woman out of this conversation? Number two, I want you to address the issue about what's really, like what Alphonse is talking about, the support system. Do we men have a good support system where we support ourselves from even the villages and even maybe in towns and even from work? Do we have the support system? And going forward, how can we have that? Number three, maybe you can address is the issue about actually parenting as a man, because Alphonse is alluding to maybe men have to stamp their authority and actually lead the family to the right direction. Are men actually maybe stamping their authority even before you said this about maybe women taking this role? And how do we actually as men show the way going forward? Dennis.
You did ask if we can leave women out of this conversation. When we are talking about men being not having their position in society, we've compared them with women. So there is no way, and we are born of mothers. And therefore, we cannot really avoid women in this topic. But again, as Alphonse did put it, we can maybe for today concentrate on men mostly, and say little when it comes to women. Because if we go that direction, then we may lose focus from the topic that we have for discussion today. When it comes to the men support system, we got our culture. And for instance, if a man confesses that he has certain challenges in his marriage, is most likely to be insulted, because culturally, like Alphonse did put it, when he was initiated, he was subjected to a lot of militia-like or kind of practices. Some very extreme, not very much applicable in a modern society. But he had to go through it just to be, to fit the requirements of the society. So that he can transit from boy life to being defined as a man. So that transition was culturally relevant then. But again, in culture is one way through which men have been colonized, so to say, because a man will suffer in silence, not to inquire from a fellow man or just seek some advice on whatever issue that is causing him problems. So the support system, we got nobody to blame. It is us men who should step up, speak up, consult fellow men, and we should also, those of us that are being consulted, should stop this habit of thinking that when you are a man, you know it all. No single person, regardless of whether even if you're a man, who knows it all. And again, when it comes to issues leadership that has denied us an opportunity to be very effective as men, we must appreciate and acknowledge our role as men in society. That we are not limited to providing; we are also supposed to be there to provide leadership. But most of us men do not have time with our families. So whatever leadership that we are providing for our families is not real time, because you go in the morning, you go to work, after work you go to a drinking place, you come back at home late at night, and again later in life you realize that you did not bond properly with your children. They grew up not knowing you, not understanding you. Like as for me, when I grew up, until recently that I had to fight for my freedom when I became a grown-up. I mean, my dad was, when my dad was home, it was like a military camp. I was not very comfortable. I always desired for this moment when he would leave and go on safari, so that at least I can feel that sigh of relief, because it was very tough. I remember I could read while he's slashing the fence out there, and he's listening to I'm reading. I could shout. So it was more of a prison for me then. But and for us fathers of today, there are a lot of activities that have kept us away from our families, and therefore whatever that happens in our families, we don't know. We sometimes think that by providing shelter, food, and paying fee, that we are very effective leaders, which is not necessarily the case. And later, when according to the examples you gave in the statistics breakdown, men tend to channel whatever help they give to their parents through their mother, and you caught me red-handed. Sometimes I find myself doing that, because when men grow old, they just become restless. They hand over the baton of leadership to women, because then the women relate so well with the children. And it is because of the kind of relationship they did create when these children were growing up. And they knew our father is so careless. If I give him money, he will go drinking. He will do this and such kind of things. So they grew up knowing that their mother is caring, their mother is responsible, and they did not have quality moment with their dad. And also they did not get to question their dad. Lastly, there is this issue of being transparent. As a parent and as a father, you need to be transparent. Sometime back, when I was growing up, and of course I'm growing up still, I've not stopped. But when I was a small kid, you could ask something from your dad, and your dad does not tell you whether he has money or he doesn't have money. He will tell you that is not necessary, or slap you, or tell you to go away. So in a modern setting, if you want to relate well with the children and such kind of things, you need to be very transparent. When you are not able to do something or provide something, just let it be known that you cannot provide that. And maybe the last concern, I think I've addressed the issue of parenting. And maybe lastly, the one issue that I want to talk about is forums for men, like what we have at the moment. We got a platform, and in the process, we may encourage a certain man somewhere, and therefore we need to have more of these forums, not just online, but in our respective localities, neighborhood, and such kind of things, so that men have, we have men conferences and various platforms and forums through which we can compare notes and empower each other and advise each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's wonderful perspectives. I want to bring in Bon-Ai. Bon-Ai, we were seeing you. Can you put your video on? I think we were seeing you, and I want to push this to you. Are you there, Bon-Ai? Before I come to Reverend, are you there? All right, maybe I cannot get him now. Let me come to you, Reverend. So, Reverend, you have heard what the gentlemen have said, especially when it comes to the identity of man. There's maybe I want to put this to an example. There's this case that is ongoing on Waluke, and there's this other wonderful lady. What's the name? I kind of forgot. But that lady, when it came to that bond they were given, she raised that amount within 2 hours. But the guy has never maybe raised that amount up to today. Does this actually show how we treat men in the society? That men maybe second name is just struggling? Reverend.
Well, thank you for that. Okay, the problem is, you're talking about a lady that was able to raise money faster than the men. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, the problem, the challenge here is actually, and this reality, women have various sources of money more than the men, such that when we start competing in terms of raising money, my friend, the woman of today will beat you hands down. Why? Some of them, I don't mean all of them, but many of them, they have, okay, you are working and you are earning the same amount of salary, but this woman, for example, go out on a trip with her, right? And you are both employees. You are given the same per diem. And when you go out with her, you will pay for her house. If you sleep with her, you will buy her food, and you will pay the house. So she will go home with her whole money, my friend. When it comes to soliciting, some women today have several sources of money. They have 4 men for budget support, and the man is alone, struggling alone. And here are women say, women, I have no fight with women, but please. One day somebody, a pastor brought up this point he was preaching. He was saying the churches with more women are being built faster and are developing faster. Then I prodded the pastor seated to me. I said, can these women show us where they dig this money? Because we also need the money. Why should they be having more money than us? But nobody asked, where did she get the money? We are the same job. We are earning the same money, and she has more money than me. My friend, somebody needs to ask, where has she gotten the money from? So men are struggling. They struggle to feed the women who have money. All right. Well, somebody still want to say men are not, women are not corrupt. Men are corrupt. Men corrupt to keep the women. That is why they will appear to be very good. So I am saying, in this issue of raising money, well, we are operating in a playing field which is tilted to the women, and nobody concerned want to look at the underlying factors. I'm saying a woman will have several men for budget support, and the man is alone supporting his own family, while the single woman has several men for budget support. But these things people hide; they don't want to talk about them. So I'm saying, well, today, comparing a man and a woman, when it comes to raising money, my friend, you are in trouble, because the woman will get money faster than the way than you'll wait to get a loan. She'll go to Alphonce and get 10,000. She'll go to Dennis and get 20,000. She'll go to Patrick and talk nicely and get 50,000. And you are still there struggling. So, well, the playing field is not flat, and especially when now we're in an environment which is towards women becoming free of men, which becoming single. Divorce is becoming very easy, right? A woman will want to divorce very fast. She do anything to divorce, so she can live alone, free of men. Not free of men, but it is free of men authority.
Thank you, Reverend.
Yes.
Amazing. Those are amazing concepts. I mean, they're really interesting for me because I'm learning a lot from those statements you made. Let me bring Mise to this conversation. Mise, you have heard what Reverend talked about. But really, for me, what I want you to address is the issue about objectifying this whole concept about a woman, a man having a woman. And especially, this has actually come even from women themselves. And maybe when it comes to even empowerment, maybe I want to look at this way, Mise. Men actually have really done a lot to women empowerment. That one, I think we can never debate about it. Now, the question is about the objectifying, especially when women maybe, I don't want to use some terms here, but when women will use maybe their body to actually get ahead, or even men who actually maybe want to use women in that kind of way, how do we actually get a better society and actually maybe bring some sense or some morals in the society? Mise.
That's a very tough question, but let me take this opportunity to thank you for giving me this opportunity. Alphonse, good to see you. Dennis, my brother, good to see you. Reverend, I have good to see you. Vincent Mboya Mulo. I was actually thinking it's Njoya, but I realized it's Mboya. But and Mercy as well. Thank you. Good to see your image there, even if I've not seen you on the camera. But allow me, please, to that question. I am thinking actually that is a very interesting question that points me back to one of the courses that I did called Women and Gender Studies. But before I say that, there's something that Pastor reference started earlier on in the session, and mentioned about equality when you were asking about equality, and said that he mentioned that women, even in the admission of to college, women actually the admission the grade they are admitted at a very low because they have low abilities. And it kind of touched me, and I thought that as a pastor, I went around my Bible. I was looking through the verses, and I found so many verses talking about equality. And I was wondering what you mean, Reverend, because even the quicker one that I got is Galatians 3, verses 28, that says, there is neither a Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, there is no male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. And so basically, I know my brother Alphonse is going to disagree with me on that in terms of equality. What I understood, or what I'm striving to hear from these verses, from, if you go to Genesis, Corinthians, Psalms, Acts, Mark, all those, they're talking about, like there's another one says, for as woman was made from man, so man is now born of a woman, and all things are from God. So for me, when I look at this, I see the intention of God was pure. It's just that as men who have brought in what we call hierarchy. And to date in the world, if you look at it, that's why we don't have, in the greatest country like United States, which preaches equality on gender, still we cannot have a female president because they still have the hierarchy where a white male has to be at the top. So for me, the question I wanted to pass to Reverend, do you think it is true that women don't have abilities? Or do you think it's us men in this context, the male, who are actually abusing or dominating or taking the advantage that we are the heads, and now we are oppressing women and putting them below us? The fact that they were told they are helpers. Is it us, or it's naturally that they don't have abilities?
Okay, Reverend.
I wish I want to intersect. If you like, because I'm asked a question directly, please. I'm just saying, okay, there's a problem with the religion, because religion can block somebody's mind from facing reality. When we talk about entry points at university, we are not reading the Bible there. We are seeing the reality. When we talk of competition in athletics, there is no equality there, right? We don't put men and women in athletics. We don't put men and women in the boxing ring, right? So there is no equality there. Don't quote the Bible out of context. The context you're quoting in Galatians is about accessing God. It's about being acceptable in God. My friend, there is God is open to all, right? But that does not make a woman a man. Neither does it doesn't make them equal. The men in the Bible remain men, and the women remain women. And the men remain the leaders in religion and in the home. My brother, Jesus Christ had 12 disciples, and none of them was a woman. And it was not by mistake, right? Please, we are not going to have a better church today than the first church of the apostles and of Jesus Christ. So can we quote religion properly? Can we quote the Bible within context? You don't bring things which are talking about salvation and you bring them in a different context. So we are suffering because we have been meant to believe, and that is why I'm saying the problem with Westernization is the theories of the West became Christianity. Whenever you quote about America and Europe on a matter of men and women, on a matter of morals, I feel to shed a tear, because there's no morals from America, there's no morals from Europe. They need to hear the gospel from us in Kenya today, so that they can wake up from their foolishness. So can we stop? I've said we need a total mindset change. Read the Bible as a man, from an African man, and you'll find that we in Kenya are more Bible-based than America and Europe. We are closer to Judaism than America and Europe. Please
Thank you.
read the
All right.
Bible as a man. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, and that's the clarity that I wanted you to share to me. I take note of that. And so back to what you say, for me, my approach would be that it's because men, if you look at, again, I'm just going to look at back to the Bible. If you look in the past, in the synagogues, women were not allowed to mix with men. Women were told to cover, and at the back of the synagogue, women were kept isolated from the men. I think looking at this, it kind of set precedence to us, making us feel superior. And the idea of isolation comes all along because it's justified by the Bible. Reverend, there is no way you can separate the Bible or religion because religion influences how we think, how we act, and how we even eat, and how we even live in our daily life. So to say that we can put the Bible aside, or because everyone understands and reads and interprets the Bible differently, and that's what even the Bible itself says. But what I wanted to, the reason why I brought this is because, and the reason why I mentioned America is because Kenya does not champion the rights of women, is not at the forefront. The countries that champion the rights and equality are actually behind. I've not led by example. That's what I wanted to say. I'm not led by example. If that was the case, today America could be having a female president, but it has not. That's the point that I wanted to bring. And in terms of even actually, if you read the history of North America, women until recently were not allowed to travel, were not allowed to have even passports. Yet the motherhood, nations are referred as her. Are referred in the name of as a mother, yet they have not been given that priority. So for me, I am arguing that it is this background that has given men the history of oppressing women and not giving women the opportunity to present themselves or showcase their abilities, because I know they're very intelligent women than I am. They have different abilities. I have women who have scored A's, and so the issue of entry, university entries, I would not meet the threshold if we were put together in terms of competition. I know there are women who are scientists. I am not a scientist. And that's what I was trying to argue, that because of that profiling, because of taking women and saying that women are not capable, we profile them. And by profiling them, there are other odds that beat the logic of profiling. For example, if you talk of masculinity, if you talk about women cannot be men, there are things that women can do that I can't do. For example, Semenya Semenya of South Africa was one of the perfect example who did what men could not do, or what men can do. So the whole idea of that women don't have equal ability is what I was trying to bring forth, that women can do what men can do if they are presented with equal opportunity. And now to your answer to your question is, and I came in when a referent was talking about women being able to make money from different sources. The wife I live with makes money from one source, and I don't want to generalize that. I cannot generalize that she can make money from different sources, but from the career she has studied and the career that she has is where she earns her living from. And so as money comes from that source. But there is one ability that she has, and that also reference is in the Bible as well, that I don't have. Women are known to keep. Men are known to go and get and bring in so that women can keep. That is ability that men, we are not very good spenders when it comes to actually savings. Maybe men can save, and if they can save, they are extreme, they are stingy. When you find a very good man that is good at keeping, they are stingy. But women have been blessed with the ability to keep, and that's why if you find a woman who doesn't have the ability to keep, the family is scattered because she can't even keep the family. So objectifying women in order to, I think it is us men who are enabling that. And because women have been denied certain abilities or opportunities, and so they use what they have in order to get what we can get. So take, for example, in Kenya, when and this is Dennis knows this term very well, ile ya kushika meza, for a woman to get a better opportunity, for a woman to grow up in the ladder of promotion in most countries, like in Africa, they have kushika meza. Even if this is a married woman, they have to kushika meza. The same thing that I came in and you said, you're given, women go out and you're paid the same per diem, and but they come back, they save all their money. That means they have to use what they have in order to get more than what you have. But if at all you are given the even ground, I believe women can do better. Our job is not to lead in terms of opportunities. Our job is to, in terms of leadership in the family setup, and provide leadership in terms of upbringing families. But we have seen men failing, and women have stepped up, and they have done very well in providing. Bringing up very able men. Barack Obama is one of the example, very admired personality. I would say my mom was more involved in my life than my dad, and so I believe that when I look around, I see that there are very many women that we can quote and we admire. Professor Wangari Maathai and Winnie Mandela, and so many other women. And so we cannot really generalize and say that all women don't have the abilities. And we can say that if you are a driver, you give another woman the same vehicle, they can drive us to the same destination. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are wonderful concepts. I mean, we really get that, and we want maybe Alphonse to respond to this. But Alphonse, as you actually respond to this, I want you to actually talk about the issue about objectifying, more specific, where, and I will use this, more specific, where women, maybe I want to first say, women are maybe doctors and they are in careers, and also they are very good entrepreneurs, like Mise is saying. But women maybe have said, if men cannot be able to provide in the family better than them, women have also said that those kind of men maybe don't deserve them, or they're actually not good leaders. I want you also to address that issue about how women maybe have made that to be an object of this kind of conversation.
I'm a trained teacher, so
Alphonse,
wrong
we can't hear
you. You can't hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Continue.
Okay, I was saying,
continue.
I'm a teacher, and I will use my profession well at this point. You cannot ask a wrong question and answer it rightly and it become correct. We will be wrong. So the question is wrong. Our focus, as I said, is not women, it's men. And there were two parts. One was why men must unite and start taking care of themselves. So I'll straight go to why should we take care of ourselves? Because we have not even addressed that so far. And taking care of ourselves means we must know our role. So if we don't know our role, we will always be complaining. Now, what I want to focus on is very basic things. Why do men don't even shower on their own? They don't brush their teeth. Why do men just walk around and don't even iron their own clothes? Why do men don't feed themselves? They cannot eat from their own houses if they are alone in that house. These are the things we need to address, because if we don't see why those things happen, then we will never understand why men think that women are objects. Now, in relation to your question, because men have just become lazy, they have just become people who want to be babysitted, and that's what we need to address. We need to take care of ourselves. Why? For how long should we be taken care of? Now that somebody said that we are not taken care of by our children at 60, why should children take care of their parents? It is the role of the men to come up with the structures that will take care of their children until they are able to take care of themselves, but also think of their future beyond having children or having energy to work. That means they must think of their social security. Those are the things we need to address as men. So you cannot provide leadership to other people. We cannot say that men are leaders when they can't even lead themselves. When we are putting the issue of women, I don't think women are tired with men. Men are just becoming a burden. Because if you can't take care of yourself and you have brought another woman, how will you take care of her? And then you bring her children. How will you take care of those children? Men, for you to take care of yourself, you must know your responsibility. If you have a child, for example, you must give that child direction. You may not have money. Give that child direction so that not all of us are being called here that we are irresponsible just because of you who is not taking care of your job. So can men rise up and know their job? If you are marrying, you don't marry to have somebody to wash your dishes. You marry to have a partner. Now, when you marry to have a partner, in the biblical terms, this person is called a helper. A helper is somebody stronger than you. If you want to carry a 50-kilogram bag, or let me say 150 kg, and you are unable to uplift it, I don't think you will search for somebody else who cannot lift the same as you. You will want to get somebody stronger than you. So when you get lady as a helper, they are coming to help you. But now when they arrive and you abandon what you wanted to be helped on again, how is it healthy at that point? So we are refusing to give direction. Then we start blaming. And I can assure you, if you count 50 men today who have women in their lives, if those women withdraw, those men even don't know how to wash dishes. They don't know the recipe of their favorite meals. They don't know where the salt is and the price of that salt. So you cannot be assisted on things you don't know. Take responsibility by knowing how to do it. As we raise our sons, let these boys know that they should know how to wash their own clothes, so that when they go to the university and college, they are not asking somebody else to wash their clothes, and that person must be a woman. That is not the direction we want to raise, and we must be forthright. Yeah. So for me, why are we not taking care of ourselves? It's not because of women, and today we must be candid for ourselves. I deal with women, and the ladies who have been in this show and are dealing with the issues, they will tell you I deal with their issues as if I don't care. But it's not that I don't care. But I also know that men have failed the society. How will you be in leadership and you don't know where you're leading us to? You can imagine, as Reverend was saying, you are in a vehicle going to Mombasa, and the direction is Nakuru, and the first place you are told to alight and have a bio break, it is in Nakuru, yet you are going to Mombasa. Now,
Thank you, Alphonse, for that.
Doesn't know where he's taking us. So if you are in the driver's seat, you must know where you are taking the people that you are entrusted to lead. So that, because lack of that, what does that mean? You are going to dominate. You are going to stamp your authority physically when things are supposed to be discussed. And that is going to take us to a route that is wrong. That is what we need to leave. So we must unite to make every man, starting with those in this studio, to know their responsibility and take care of it without complaining and crying.
Interesting. So I think the ladies are glad for those. They have noted those points. Alphonse, today you are very on point on their issue. You have addressed it to the point. The latter.
I'm not on issues of women. I'm on issues of men. And I'm talking about men. It's not their issue.
Yeah, and actually, you have actually raised an accusation in your response, which I want to come to Atieno and all those women who want to speak in this men issue. But let Dennis address this, because Dennis, actually we had this conversation where actually there's some lady somewhere who actually accused us men that we don't brush ourselves, we don't brush our teeth, and we don't practice some good sense of grooming. I mean, I think men, we trying very hard, and we are trying as much as possible to be clean for you women. So I want, Alphonse is actually accusing us men that we actually not being, clean enough for women. What do you say, Dennis, on this conversation?
But before Dennis talk, Patrick, let's face it. Even in the boys' school, the problem is people are stinking. If you go to these corporates, men are stinking. So it's not about that I'm against them. Men, the best they do on their own is to take shower 3 times a week. Those ones try a lot. Those who do it 3 times a week, those ones you clap for them and above. But for ladies, you'll find most of the time it is normal. If you look at our inner pants, men even don't know how they clean it. Some of them, they drop it, they throw it away. Those are issues that we must address if we want to start taking care of ourselves, because that is the topic you brought us today.
Yeah, and that's what we want us to address. But first of all, we have to agree. Dennis, I have asked you this question. Do you agree with Alphonse that as men, we don't shower and actually be clean for these women? Dennis.
I think Alphonse could be having a point, but I don't think it is proper for him to blanket all men with, what he's trying to put across. He's not every man that is dirty. And he could be equipped with, evidence of specific men, so to say. But if we go that direction of saying men are dirty, I would then, we are men, including Alphonse, so that is not proper. Anyway, away from that, but there are those that are dirty. They should, just like there are some women that are dirty, so that's not really a big issue. These people are there regardless of gender. On the other issue, there are issues that have been...
What's the question?
Yeah, which question is that? As in, Alphonse is speaking.
What is the issue? You can unmute yourself. You ask the question again.
No,
what I'm saying is this.
Yeah. Proceed, Dennis, please.
So, I want to just say that men are overburdened. Take it from a cultural perspective, and maybe Pastor is gonna share with us this biblical story of these gentlemen who were to work for 7 years so that he can be given a lady.
Sorry, Dennis, we can't hear you. There is some network issue.
I don't know what is happening.
Can you try to leave and then come back? Maybe it will be sorted. There's some few network issue on your end. Is it okay now? Let me try. Can you go try? Can you try to leave? Okay, can you try now?
Okay, let me try and leave and come back.
Yes, please. Yeah, so before Dennis comes in, I want to loop women to this conversation. And I think Atieno came here specifically to respond. Atieno, respond briefly because this is an issue of men.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to join today about this issue. And in fact, Patrick, when I saw the topic, I was really happy because I think you had a really valid points and concerns, and me being surrounded by many men in my life, I was like, finally, somebody is addressing an issue that needs to be addressed, especially when it comes to health and things like that. And so when you guys started talking, I was kind of taken back because I wasn't sure, are we really discussing the topic or what are we talking about? So Alphonse, thank you so much for bringing the discussion where it belongs. And so to start with, I want to say that the Reverend, normally I like just to, bring my point, air my views and leave, but I think you made some chilling accusations, I would say, or comments, or things about women that you made it appear like men and women are in a battle, which I think is not true. We are not really in a battle of any kind. I think we need one another. We need you guys and you guys need you. In my culture, they say that a man without a woman is like a blind person. You don't have your eye. So normally when we start these discussions, we talk about them like we are at war with one another, but that's not really the case. You find that I have thrived, under the counsel of men, And I also know that there are men that adore me and, you know, value my opinion or my whatever it is, because it makes them thrive. So we cannot really do without one another. So I think when we come to that understanding of knowing that we are all vouching for one another, and when we air our views or concerns, it's not because we are mad at you or anything like that, but I think it's more of like, we want you guys to be better, so to make relationship work, because we are relational, right? Women are relational, and even men are relational. We all want those relationships to work. So to say that, like, Reverend, you have brought a point where you say that women need to be asked where they get the money, you know, that we do the same jobs and stuff like that. And I don't know, you know, where you came up with this idea, because I know people that even earn more than I do, my fellow women and men, but the way they handle their financial is different, is totally different from how I go about my finances. So maybe in that regard, I would refer you to financial literacy, so that, you know, people may know how to deal with that, with their finances, instead of blaming women to, you know, or asking them where they get the money from. Now, if you know the history of women, we do the chairmans and everything that we do, and we do little things here and there to try to get money. So we don't really just go around looking for Alphonse and Dennis Oseko and Mr. Patrick to supplement our income. And, you know, that was really offensive, you know, to say the least. And, you know, so I think you should at least take that back, because we do work hard for our money. I may be employed, but even when I'm talking to you guys, I'm doing something. That tells you that we can multitask. So don't just think that, you know, you see a pretty girl that, you know, that my bills are being paid by some dude somewhere. You know, it's just, we use our heads a lot, you know, to say the least. Now, another thing I also wanted to say is Dennis and my friend Misa, you guys have been going on online here, busting two ladies that talked about men's hygiene. And you guys made it appear like it was a kissy issue. And I just want to represent women today and represent them well. Now, those women, they just spoke what most of us do not have the balls or the guts to speak. We are sick and tired of men with bad breaths. We are sick of and tired of men with stinking armpits. Leave alone down there, you don't even want to, you know, mention it. So when these women came out to speak about these things, they aired the sentiment, they echoed the sentiments of most women. And when women gather in a group, let me just, you know, say this, they talk about these issues. And you guys are not doing really good. So instead of being offended and feeling like women are going after you, to me, I would take this, if that man that is not taking his hygiene seriously, I would really go back and say that maybe I need to pull up my socks. Maybe I need to, you know, put some deodorant. Maybe I need to change my underwear. Some of you men don't even change their underwear. And when you start talking about this conversation, men get in the offensive and they start saying that, how many men have you dated? How many of them were not brushing their teeth? That's not the issue. And if you ask me, that could maybe not be the men in my life, but we interact, especially here in the US, we interact with African men and all other men, and especially Kenyan men. I'm just going to leave alone. Let's not even go a bit about the bush, the Nigerians. The Nigerians do a good job, let me tell you guys. Those guys spend money on their colognes. They want to look good. And especially when they know that ladies are around, they do a better job. But you find a Kenyan guy, most of them, we are not saying all. Remember, I'm not saying all. But most of you guys, you know, your breaths are stinking, not because we are kissing you. No, you're talking to us. I can't stand you. Your breath is stinking, everything else is stinking, and you just don't know how to help a brother. So a sister get the guts and say, listen, man, you guys need to, this is why, we're running to these other men, and you're being defensive, saying that, oh, it's because we become nurses, oh, because we earn money. No, we want men that are edible. We want men that smells good. We want men that looks good. How are we gonna attain this objective if we can't even speak to you guys? And thank you, Alphonse, for echoing that today and letting them know from a man point of view that we are really, really exhausted. Please pull up.
I think today
the main point I have. The main point I have, so that I'm not accused the way I'm seeing fingers
Alphonse,
pointed.
Wait, Alphonse. I want Dennis to respond. He was talking.
This thing I really want us to understand.
Just a little bit, Alphonse. I want Dennis to respond because he was talking before I brought in Atieno. I'll bring you very shortly. Alphonse.
Atieno has accused me, so I need to get a point to apologize. But first, let them not to apologize, to clarify.
No problem. I'm Reverend. So let's get actually Dennis to respond, because this issue is close to our heart. We have been touched that actually our hygiene is terrible. I mean, this is serious. Dennis, please.
Thank you very much, my sister Atieno, and for your concern, and you've been following, which is very good. I'm not defending the men that are dirty, that are like smelling bad and such kind of things. What we are opposed in is a blanket condemnation. If, for instance, I say women, all women, no, it can't be all men, all women. It has to be some. It has to be specific. And when we are addressing ourselves to issues hygiene, let us not trivialize it or make it look like it is a tribal issue. For instance, saying all Kisii men are dirty, Kisii men are doing this, or whatever, Kenyan men are doing this, and such kind of things. I think by so doing, we will be unfair. It's good to say to some, and it's good to address ourselves to that very subject that we need to address. Issues of hygiene. We can talk about hygiene and talk about some men, not every man. All right. That said and done, I just want to say, echo some words that was spoken by Reverend about religion. And I want to say that some Western scripted religious practices have deprived men, African men, of being real or being themselves, because then everything has already been scripted. If you ask a man leader, what do you say about this? He will say, Matthew said, Matthew 10:10. This is what he says. So some of these men who have, I'm religious. I go to church. I believe in. I'm a Christian. I'm not opposed to Christianity, but I'm just saying, sometimes you have to address yourself or pronounce yourself to the issue that is before you, without passing the pattern to what has been said, what this and that said. It is good to refer to the scripture, but it's good to address yourself to any issue that is before you. So some of these scripted religious practices, so to say, have made it very difficult for men to be effective leaders in society. Another issue that I want to talk about is issues that are inherited. Sometimes, as men, we begin on a very wrong footing or a negative footing, because as a parent, there are so many challenges that you leave pending. There are so many issues that you sweep under the carpet. And by the end of the day, by the time your sons or future men now are gonna, grow into, to be men and marry and have their own families, they got some shit that you left behind that they have to first iron out. so that then they can deal with challenges of their time. So men, for us to be effective leaders, let us learn to deal with challenges of our time. Because, you know, some of us find ourselves in a very nasty situation because our fathers or our grandfathers left nothing for us. So our fathers had to struggle. We are also struggling. Our children will also struggle if we are not very careful or we are not very smart to iron out some of these issues and lay a foundation for them. So that is one of the reasons that most of us find ourselves where we are at the moment. And another issue that was earlier talked about is issues of mindset. I mean, we need to change. We need software upgrade. Our software, some of us, software is outdated. We are not able to accommodate the latest software that can help us live in the current society. So we need software and of course hardware, as Atieno put it, that some men cannot apply Laurent dress, nice iron their shirts and such kind of things. Because before I got married, I used to wash my own clothes. I used to mop the house that I lived in. I used to do literally everything for myself. But with time, as you get a job and you begin to have money, you begin thinking that as a man, you should not cook for yourself, that you can go out and eat there, that you need a woman to do the cooking for you and such kind of things. So that does not mean, some of us men are best cooks. Like for me, when I cook for my family, they enjoy my food more than they enjoy when my wife cooks. So some of us are good at certain things. It's only that we just decided to be lazy. So we guys need to wake up, need to be loaded with the latest software that will help us in this kind of life, because we cannot live Stone Age in this era. We cannot copy from my grandfathers, the way my grandfather used to treat my grandmother, and I just want to live that kind of life now. So we must change our mindset and be in tandem with what the modern life expects of us. And lastly, I want to talk about expectations in society. There is so much that is expected of a man in a society. Culturally, before you marry, you are supposed to pay something so that you can, dowry and such kind of things. There is this guy in the Bible who had to work for 7 years so that he can be given a girl. Imagine 7 years working without earning anything. So it is very painful for us from a cultural perspective that you really have to moil and toil so that you can have a lady. And if you do not have money, then you probably don't love this woman. So love has been, you must have money for you to show that you love a woman. So this whole issue of making it look that men have to transact, men have to work, do some savings, and buy, basically, so to say, for lack of a better word, because you are buying love to take home. Also puts men in a very precarious situation, so that we have a higher, responsibility. Society expects so much of us, and therefore it cannot be a level ground for both men and women. Men have a higher calling than men, because I do not remember of in the African context of a woman who labored for, like that story in the Bible, 7 years to win a man. I mean, it's like a punishment. It is very punitive. So let us accept it as men, and we move on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to bring a lady before I bring Alphonse and Reverend to respond.
I needed to respond because my name was walked there.
Your name was.
Can you allow me to respond something, please? Because, one, to Atieno, I want to say, I'm very clear, I did not say all women. I said some. That's very clear. Unlike Atieno and Alphonse are saying all men and that is an abuse to men. That's why we need to be very careful. You know, we are in a society where a mistake of one man is taken to be a mistake of all men. And that is why the men are suffering. Not all men don't know how to cook. Not all men don't wash themselves, right? So let us not generalize. That is where the unfairness of the men comes in and some bitterness built in. Because a mistake of one man is made a mistake of all men. While a mistake of one woman is seen as a mistake. We want to behave like women are angels who don't make a mistake, but men are devils. No, I don't buy that. I'm saying men are decent. They are the leaders. Now, incidentally, in this life, there were always men who are more able than others. And then in the Bible, those able men are the many wives and the many mouths to feed and the many children, and were honored in the society. But today, those able men are given to carry the same weight as what was, if you are not able, you are not okay. You are not very able. The poor man had only one wife in the Bible. The able men had many wives and were responsible for many mouths in the community and were respected. These are the Abrahams, the Davids, the Solomons, all the great men in the Bible. But now we have today a case where every man one wife, every man one wife, the able and the unable, all are given one wife. Then the women who are without a wife are left there going for hidden relations with the able men, because the able men have some reserve ability to take care of several women in the community, meant by God. Now, we are blaming men for everything, including doing a good job of taking care of several women in the society. But mice will tell me that one is wrong, and I tell him, no, my friend, read the Bible again. And heaven is full of polygamous men. We are not having a new heaven to create. So can we stop blanket abuse of men as irresponsible, as not knowing how to wash? We are wanting to, we are measuring the standard measure of success of men depending on women. No, men shall not be the success. The quality of a man is not determined by the women, because men are men. Please, let me make this other point very clear. It is not good to make men do all the things in the house such that they are free of women. There is a way how God made life, and it is natural. When I am married, I like the way Dennis puts it. Actually, there are things I can cook very well. But I don't want to cook. I am not going to cook, because when I take over the responsibility of a wife, what will the wife do? I will live alone without a wife. And then we are supposed to coexist. So can we exist where men do the men things and the women do the women things? And men, please stop behaving like women wanting to be man like a woman. It won't work. Gentlemen, don't be a man like a woman. Be a man like your father. That's why some people are quoting very good things, and I like it. Actually, you are saying my father was this tyrant. Yes, now that tyrant has been removed from us by the church and the school, and now we have become women, and the women are looking for the men. Where the men have gotten lost because they have been made women, and they want to think like women. Let's think like men. Our fathers were men. Now today is man. It is the failure of the men to bring up responsible young men. We are complaining about a generation which is lost. It's not my generation. I'm 50. I'm over 50. My generation, our fathers taught us to be men. We have failed to tell our sons to be men. We are telling them to go and cook, to go and wash. Where will they be men? We are making them women. So can men start again being men? And that's why I've said the challenge, we need a total mindset change. Let men think like men and stop thinking like I'm Zulu. Please, can we stop westernization? It is unfortunately is what has been fed in the church and the school. The church and the
Thank you, Reverend. I'm sorry. I will have to
So,
leave it at that point.
quickly,
Miss, I want to respond, and then I just want to push a question to Joy before we come to Alphonse. But just respond
quickly. I just to, because he just spoke, as my sister Atieno turns on her camera, because I want to look at her face and give her a message to take home to our sisters who unreservedly accused us. Reverend, what I hear from you is male Judaism. You know, where you are looking at a woman as a lesser being, and so when you are equated to be like a woman, you are of a lesser being. So, and that's why we are walking away. A woman is a beautiful thing. That you, what we are saying is, when we grew up, we were told, don't be like a woman, because why? A woman is weaker. You know, now women are stronger. It's not true that women are weaker. So I don't want to get there. And the issue of westernization, you know, my reference, you're speaking English because of that westernization. English came with westernization. You are saying that religion has brainwashed us, yet you're quoting the verses. And yet you are talking about, as Africans, we used to worship in the mountains there and believe there existed God, and we didn't have the scriptures written in the Bible. So if we go that direction, we will be going to another topic. But to my sister Atieno, what our sister, let it be kieleweke, that the message that our sisters had was valid, you know, was very valid. The delivery was wrong. We cannot accept it. We will not, we did not accept it. We are not going to accept it. We will not in the future accept it. So what we wanted is a dialogue like the one that we are having here today. If you come today, I tell you, my wife, I'm going through domestic violence. You don't go berserk accusing every man of every woman of domestic being a perpetrator of the domestic violence. What if today we came and said all women are prostitutes? I will see you on the front line, you know, without any naked, you know, parading for my I've lacked the term, but what we are saying, our sisters mentioned issues that we relate with in our society. They talked about domestic violence. They talked about personal hygiene. They talked about men. They talked about actually women who are actually brought from abroad and they are abused. Aren't there men who are brought here and they are abused? Aren't there women who are dirty? Aren't there men who are going through domestic violence? So the question was not that they didn't have a point. The question was they were inciting women against men, which is when they say about men not showering, are they forgetting that they have husbands, they have brothers, they have fathers? You know, if I come here and make outrageous accusations that all women are prostitutes, am I calling my mother a prostitute? You know, so what we are saying is that we heard them. You know, I have seen, I've gone to Minnesota and I've seen men who are alcoholic. You know, I've lived here and I've seen people who are alcoholic. People have lost direction. People have lost leadership. People have not stepped up to take the position of guiding their families. The thing is, if women have confided into them, it's about time they call us, like we have been called here by Patrick, to talk about issues that are affecting men. But just to say, before I was watching this with my daughter, and she was upset with this. What message are we talking about? What message are we telling? Are we telling our daughters to look down upon us, that we don't equal up to be fathers? You know, if you look at and Dennis, you mentioned that we should not reference verses or scriptures. You know, let me tell you, the script in scriptures lies wisdom. You know, when for example, Ephesians 6 says that children obey your parents, and this is a command with a promise, that is actually something that every father wants or every parent wants. And when the scriptures say in the same book of Ephesians that fathers do not exasperate your children, but bring them in love and in training and instruction in the Lord, that is exactly what we seek, guidance and knowledge in the scriptures. So what I want to tell my sister, take it to the bank and take it to the ladies that came out. We thought that when you are educated, you learn how to communicate. When we came out, what we are saying, they singled out what is called, they said kissy men, actually in particular. And I'll tell you, when you are accused, when you are attacked, when your name is invoked, the first thing that you do is you jump into identity. You identify. Right now, what we did, we jumped into male, to a gender identity, and said, "Hey, come on, men, we've been accused, we are under attack." And then the second thing we did, oh, it's not just men, it's just the kissy men who have been singled out. And that's why we came out and saying, we love our sisters, but next time if somebody confides in them, let them bring that issue in wisdom and in the manner that we can resonate. Right now, we are not going to shower. We are actually going on a strike. And we shall, we are marching and we are saying, we are declaring a strike of 1 month up to those men who have been showering faithfully. And we are going to say, okay, now we want you to come on the table so that we can have a dialogue, so that you know that it's not every man. And as you can hear, every man who is in this conversation today, they are saying, we don't want to generalize. If there is an issue, let us address the issue as they come. And my sister, let me tell you, we love you so much, and we love the women that we have. And that's why some of us are in families. And everyone in a family has a mother, a father, a wife, a sister, a brother. So any accusation you're making directly points to those ones. And lastly, you've said the message actually did not sit very well. Dennis, you mentioned about wealth management and how we should invest so that we can bring up men who are wealth management. Let me tell you, a lot of men don't shower because they actually spend a lot of time to make money so that they can take care of their families. Because I remember when I came to North America, I used to work in the companies that I was working. They were actually were wearing uniforms, and so for about 4 years, I did not find, because I was working like 2 jobs, and jumping from one job to the other is a uniform, and they have a shower at work. So tell me, I did not find a reason to go and buy shirts, because where was I wearing shirts to? Like now we are working from home. Where am I wearing dress pants and casual? I mean, dress pants. So what I'm saying is that sometimes, depending on the environment, the fact that we are not buying new clothes, there could be some other reasons. Maybe you're wearing uniforms, so really you don't need the new shirts. But know that your father, if your father is born before 1980 or 1960 and back, there were no colognes, there were no very strong perfumes, and we all know that they all showered with leaves. And in this era, they didn't have as much stress that we do right now. Some of you want us to buy you Mercedes Benz, and because of that pressure, we end up emitting some hormones, or I'll leave it there. But know that when you see a man, and I want to reference to what my brother Daniel said yesterday, that not every sio kunuka ambayo sio kila kunuka ambayo ni mbaya. There is kunuka ambayo that is sexual, that attracts a woman that wants to hear that smell. I think I remember when my wife was pregnant, she used to follow me to work She could not go home. She could finish her work and make sure that she wants me to stay by her. I'm sure it's because of that smell. That's why she wanted to stick by me. So how can you condemn that thing that she really wanted so badly? So, my sisters, the delivery of the message is what we are condemning here. And to men, invest in yourself. Invest in you so that you can be able to extend to other people. And how do you invest yourself? Take the money that you have, also buy yourself, go and buy yourself a good watch, a nice shirt, nice shoes. That's something, because when you're dressed properly, when you have good, it kind of gives you confidence. If you are in a good, dressed properly, it kind of gives you confidence. Now, lastly, kama umevaa ile shati that is expensive, try to also kutoka ndani, also make it cleaner so that the cap is not wider outside and clean, but inside it's thinking. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Misa. Actually, I wanted Joy to tell us what really I wanted to bring her to this conversation to tell us what usually women want. But I want to let Alphonse respond, and then I'll go to Atieno to tell us holistically what you women want, and especially why you are comparing Kenyan men, because we don't compare Kenyan women to other women, even in Europe or Africa. So Alphonse respond, and then I let Atieno, and then we go to the parting shots.
Now, Patrick, is your topic general or specific? Is it about most men or all men? When you say why men must unite and start taking care of themselves?
It's all men.
So when I am addressing the topic, what's the problem? Why do you want me to say most men or some men? You see, that's number one. So men who don't unless you understand what you're addressing, the things these guys are talking about, they are very nice things, but they're out of topic. They are not in the topic of today. So today we are dealing with why is there a need for men to unite anyway? If the answer is yes, why? And if that unity is here to us taking care of themselves, what is it that they need to take care about themselves? I can almost tell all of you here that you are not told by your male parents to be taking a shower and washing your inner pants. And we are saying we must unite to tell our children to do so. What is wrong with that? We must, if you want to lead a great institution, you must be taking care of feedback seriously, not beating every client who come to you and say, now you don't always appreciate what we do. The first thing that you do, what people consider negative feedback, is what is considered to be profitable feedback if well utilized. Now, the truth of the matter, whether we want to agree or disagree, is that not all human beings have a problem with hygiene. Now, if any sample anywhere in the world is brought today, majority of the people with problem with hygiene will be men. It is automatic. So it is an issue that we as men must be the ones to address. So I don't understand why the panelists here who are male are finding that to be an issue of insult. You might be taking a shower, but that is you. But today we are addressing the issues of men. So anytime you address issues of men, the first position should be, what is it that is happening among most men that need to be addressed? Now, most here does not mean that if you take total count or total population, then it's more than half. No. But it is an issue that requires to be addressed, but it is common with men. So when we are uniting here, men don't know how to spend their money, for example. Men are poor spenders. After saying that, I'm aware of men who spend more than everybody else better and do the best things they do. But if you want to assist your brothers who take 8 years in employment as have never done anything with their money, if you want to help them, how do you do it? And there are many. Why do you think most of us don't go back to the village? And when we go back, we want to go back and sleep in our grandparents' houses because we can't sleep in our mother's houses. Because the little we are getting, we don't even know how to start building a smaller hut in that village, yet our parents are stressed wanting us. So what is wrong with us addressing that? Men, you must take care of yourself by knowing that you have a home. So you don't need $1 million to start getting a plot when you can get 50,000 and build a small hut where when you have an issue at home, you can actually sleep in your own house. Now, you don't need to be housed by your father and mother when you are already 35. When you have finished school, get your own place and start knowing how to live on your own. These are issues that we men should address towards men. Why are we leaving it to our parents, particularly the female ones? They cannot address it effectively as if we were to take that role ourselves. I have lived on my own from 1999. Now, that does not mean that every one of my peers can do that, because some of them cannot. But having known that, I must address that issue that if you have, I don't have a son, I have daughters. But if you have a son, you need to do that to your son. If you don't, then what will happen to your son when they reach this age? They will start arguing, but they can't take care of themselves, and you'll not be there for them forever. Now, we as the male people of this society, the men, we must know that when somebody is saying that they're looking up to us, it means we are supposed to be providing leadership. So we must invest in both abstract understanding of things ahead of time. So you don't just invest in reactions. Can you see it beforehand? Solve it beforehand, so that when it arrives, you actually had that scenario analyzed and a solution to it in the event that it comes sorted. Now, that is what I expect men to be of. And there are many men who are like that. But we are not addressing the problem of people who have succeeded in that one. We are addressing the problem of people who have failed or who are not addressing that one. And there's no single time I said all men. So those who are hearing all men, most likely, they were culprits of what I was saying. They are victims. They are part of what I was saying. Because I didn't say all men. I am a very good communicator, both in volume, the choice of words, and consistency. I am a very good communicator. I didn't say all, and I have never said it. So those who are hearing all, and I have had several people hearing all, that I said all men. Who said all men? Which Alphonse? There's only one Alphonse here. I didn't say it. And I don't want to start coming here and saying, you know, so I'm not here to defend what I have said or not said, done or not done. If men usually don't take shower, they don't take shower. And this has happened in corporate world. I have led a group of men where we are saying,
Alphonse, you just said not all men. You said if some men. Correct your statement.
I'm saying, you see, that's what I asked you. When you're saying why men must unite, I asked you, is your statement addressing all men or some men? You are addressing all men. But when you are addressing all men, the truth of the matter in that statement is that there is no situation where the entire population will fit in a statement. There's no time. So unless you are, and if you defend that so much, if that is your main point of focus, and you lose the point, then you are a victim. Correct it. Who are wogi and a wogi. That's what I'm saying. Because the truth is that some of these men even take shower more than the women around them. So if you are one of them, you will not even find that an issue. But if you're not, you have seen 3, 4, 5 of your colleagues, schoolmates, friends, village mates, brothers, they don't even brush their teeth. And you know, you don't need to use some toothbrush and toothpaste from the shop. We were taught these things in the village. You use just a stick, and there's a good way of using it. So if we are not doing, can we emphasize these things so that they are done? Let's not start sugarcoating, my brothers. Let's not start looking that we want to sound nice so that men watching or listening are finding it nice. There is a problem that must be addressed. That's why man needs to unite. That simply means men in general are actually not united. So we must have what brings us to be united. And as I'm saying, one of them is those things I'm addressing. So take care of yourself, but collectively. So we unite and take care of yourself, so that if my brother is not doing something, we do. The last thing I want to say about taking care of ourselves, let's form accountability groups that allow us to take care of our families. Because it is men who don't take care of their families. Again, I know of men who take care. I do take care of my family properly well. But I know men don't take care of their families, because there's the substantive amount of people who don't take care of their families. Men are more than women, and we must address that. So that if you are not married and you have a child, you're only lucky because you don't have a womb. Otherwise, if it were you to carry the child, you would have been the other side of the shoe. So since the child is here, you don't like the mother, can you take care of this child in the way, not the way the mother demands, but the way you can, the way you are able to? the way within your means. You're getting it?
Okay,
so,
Alphonse.
So can we focus on the substance? And I'm not addressing it to a specific person here, but it is men. If you don't take it serious, it is serious anyway. Okay, Patrick.
Thank you very much, Alphonse. You have actually made some serious accusation there about men, that the ratio of men who don't take care of their children is actually higher than women. I want to push it to a man, but I want to push this to actually Atieno. Atieno, you actually also actually compared Kenyan men or even with Nigerians and even Europeans. But my question, I want you to come actually clear on this conversation, because we haven't compared women to other races, right? And actually, I've never seen men comparing women with maybe Eastern African women or Western African women, but we have seen this conversation where Kenyan women compare us with actually people who actually have higher socio-economic power than the kind of socio-economic power we have in Kenya. Can you come clear on this conversation? Atieno.
Thank you, Patrick. So here is the thing. You know, like the lady that talked about the Kenyan men. Kenyan men are our uncles, they are our brothers, they are our husbands, they are our sons. I know more about Kenyan men than anybody else. And so anything that is affecting my people, I'm well conversant with it. That's number one. Number two, we work with different people and we got eyes. I'm sorry, we do get eyes, we get noses to smell things. And we are around our Kenyan brothers even more. So that means that if they're taking care of themselves, that should speak for itself. That should give a testimony for itself, because we are the bearer of that news. We are the ones who should come here and say, you know, when it comes to this, like, I'm a defender of anybody. And if you're doing good, I'm for you. But unfortunately, you know, I've been around different men, Nigerian men, whichever, in comparison, which is not even my culture. The vast majority of Nigerians that I interact with are very few compared to the Kenyan. But the few that I interact with are more clean, you know, decent than my fellow Kenyan. And I've worked with Kenyan, and I've also worked with Nigerians as well. And you would even hear them say, what's wrong with these Kenyan men, the Nigerian men? Now you want me to clarify. So this is my experience. So that's, I'm gonna own it. So you hear them say, what's wrong with Kenyan men? These dudes don't take care of themselves. So, so we hear them say that, and we live with you guys. We see this happening. It's a problem, guys. Okay, I understand that the delivery might have not been so good, so not appealing. I think it has really scrubbed some people's ego the wrong way. But the message still remains. You guys have to step up. It's a problem. That's why women are not having intimate with you guys. Those who are saying that they are going to protest, they are not going to take showers, you will not see nothing until you do that. So you're gonna have your corner, you know, in either on the couch or somewhere with your duvet. You will be there until you take a shower. So we don't want, those are the things that we are trying to avoid. I think Penny had very good intention, very, very good intention. If you look at it from with a good heart, like not saying, because this defense mechanism that you guys have developed to say that, oh, she generalized. No, she didn't. Like when we are talking, what most of the people are hearing is all men. But I mean, we know this is an issue. Why don't we take it upon ourselves? And wanaume wakae kwa kamkunji yao. And then you guys address these issues. Instead of you guys sitting down to defend and say, oh, we're not gonna do it. But the marriages are going to the dogs. You know, we are losing your marriages, and you kissy men that are complaining. I'm sorry, you guys are like, when it comes to what would I say? When it comes to brutality, you got it's so prevalent in your community. So I think it's something that you guys need to really look into, like the way you handle issues, maybe the way you take criticism so seriously and all this. I'm not saying that it's not It doesn't happen in other communities, but you guys are the minority. And I'm in a women group of over 15,000 women. And I can tell you that even though Kisses are the minority, the level of domestic abuse, that is being reported is very high. So maybe instead of you guys shouting on social media, trying to defend the status quo, maybe you want to dig deep and say, what's really happening with our men? Why do we tend to have this aggression? See what I'm saying? So not all the dogs that bark at you, you need to throw a stone at them, but you guys have a hammer and everything you see is a nail. And that, I think, is the problem.
Amazing. Wow. You really are accusing us of father.
You see, that's where we begin. We cannot have a communication if they can't take their portion of the blame, and we take ours. We have not said that we are not showering. We are not showering. Further, we have said we are going to the streets. But anyway, I'll come to respond unless you want me to give my parting shot since I have the mic.
Wait, Alphonse. I wanted Mise to respond specifically on the Kisii part where we have been accused that actually the preference of violence in Kisii is even higher than other communities. I think that's a bigger accusation to Kisii men. Yes. Actually, I think in Kisii, we even saw maybe a woman trying to actually violate a man. So, Mise, can you address that? And then I'll come to Alphonse, and then I come to parting shots.
My sister Tieno, let me tell you, what you're saying that what you're giving, you're saying that on a balance of probabilities, the message delivery was wrong. What we are saying, there's no balance of probabilities. The message was wrong. The delivery was wrong. The message was good. The delivery was wrong. So can we all agree that? If we don't agree on that, then we still have a problem. It's going to be a status quo because I don't feel like I belong to that category, yet I'm in that blanket. Patrick doesn't feel that he is. We don't feel, I don't belong to, I don't have any problem with my wife or family in terms of domestic violence. So those issues are neither here or there as an individual. So that's what we are saying. We acknowledge, we are cognizant of the fact that these issues exist, but not to every family. That's what we are saying. Our sisters, we don't even know which family. Show me one family that doesn't have problems, doesn't have issues, doesn't have marital problems. What we were condemning, and we continue condemning with very strong terms, is that we are the head, and you cannot come and talk down to us like we are little kids. We deserve respect, and we are going to demand it in the context of the message that was put out there. You know what? I invited Penny and Dr. Pam to come to the show and also tell us they declined. Why? Because they know that their intention, they have ego as well. Their ego could not be cut to the right chord and come and have a dialogue. We cannot, even God says, come and let us reason together. Where are these ladies not coming and reasoning together? Why can't we start a dialogue? Are we denying that there is no violence within our community? And if you're talking about violence, read about the statistics. The Nigerian men that you're actually praising, they are in North America, actually in the US, the numbers show that they are leading in terms of killing their wives, their nurse wives to begin with. How many Kenyans have killed their wives in the US? Probably negligible. But in terms of violence, you actually invoke the Kisii community. We know that we are not romantic, but that we take it to the bank. We agree we are not very romantic because we are development conscious. And if you see in terms of investment, you can tell that the Kisiis have done very well. And if you're talking about in terms of the Kisii community that has traveled out there to look for green pasture, the numbers can speak for themselves. But what we don't know, and that's what we are struggling with, that we are trying, and Alphonse has challenged us, that we should teach our children from the age, the young age, in order to embrace the issues that we were not taught when we were young. And this goes across to all African men, but we do actually take the blame that we were told not to go to kitchen. Now, this is a reality that we are struggling with now, to go back to the kitchen. When we grew up, we were told if you go to kitchen, you probably might find your mother in a very sitting in a very compromising position. And now you're telling a 70-year-old, a 50-year-old, a 40-year-old to deviate from what he was taught from as an age of 0 to 8 years, that they should not go to where their mothers are sitting. So for us as Kisses, we are saying not every Kissy is dirty, and that's our position still remains. Not every Kissy is violent. Not every Kissy has imported wives as we were actually accused. And so what we were actually demanding from our ladies, they're actually Kisses to begin with. And so, and that's why we are asking these women who are actually married to other tribes, how can they speak from experience of which they are not living in? If you are a wife who has been married to a different, let's say, for example, to a Luo, then you cannot speak of a Kissy husband. You can only speak from hearsay because you have not lived the experience, unless you are married to a Kissy man and divorced, and then you can authoritatively speak from that point of experience. But for now, your message is okay, and we are welcome to take it, but bring it in a more in a decorum, in a way that has decorum, in a more that is calling other decent men, other non-violent men to come together so that we can join hands and fight domestic violence together, and fight poor personal hygiene together, and fight the issue of marrying from where you are and within, and give us the reason, show cause why we should do so, and not as vis-a-vis marrying from elsewhere, as opposed to just condemning us. If all of us came, okay, today I'm declaring all women are prostitutes. So I want to hear what your reaction is. Are you a prostitute, my sister Tieno Nyakocheni? Would I be fair to say that? That if your answer is no, then that is the same. That's the same approach we are giving from here. That the approach of our sisters was absolutely wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Alphonse, respond, and then we go to parting shot.
Yeah. So next time, not just even in this topic, let's learn to get feedback so that we pick the points that we can work on in the feedback. We are defending the feedback to the extent that feedback is now not useful. And that line is taken by the story of the Kissy men. The truth of the matter is that the word all has been inserted so that the points move on clearly. Nobody has met all Kissy men in the first place. So I doubt even if whatever you say, the person meant all and the person used all. So insisting on all men, all Kissy men, I think we are defending. Can we learn from this and pick what we need to pick and act on what we need to act on? I think to me that's the bottom line. But this issue of defending, these things being said are true. They are true. In my place, there is a common behavior of people leaving school early enough, and early enough means before secondary, and shortly thereafter they have children. And I have my age mates who have 4 or 5 wives. Now, I also know people who got to 45 before getting married. Now, there's this statement that we were told that people of my place always get married early and we don't go anywhere. Now, the only lesson I could learn is that I need to do something different. I don't need to defend that position. So my case, they started begging me to get married when I got to 30 and I was not yet married. Now, it didn't stop me. I told them I didn't tell you to marry, so don't tell me to marry. But the lesson learned is that what I learned from the feedback is that when you get married later on, you are more mature than if you get married at 17, 20, 21. And therefore, you also have a higher ability to hold on to that marriage and relationship in a better way than if you went there at 14, 15. So I have also been able to inspire, not the entire village, not the entire locality, but at least I have been able to inspire a few people whom now I see are not waking up to think of marriage as their next option, but they're thinking I can actually still struggle, finish school, get some life, and then
Okay,
marriage
Alphonse, before even you proceed, I want you to correct your statement. You said these people are marrying at 15 and 17.
Those things happen. I'm not correcting. No, what do you want me to correct? You know, I don't know why you guys are insisting I correct. These things are happening.
So they marry at 15 and 17. So they don't belong even. They belong somewhere else. I mean, they are
Where?
still. They have not reached the age where they are supposed to be married according to the Kenyan law, isn't it?
But okay, they didn't reach the age according to the law, but they got married. So, and they're not 3 of them. They're not 5.
Okay.
And I'm not lying. So even if you are to arrest, you'll arrest more than half of the village because I have a classmate who gets. My first classmate got married in 1993. Now you can imagine then up to today. And then I was in lower primary. So what I'm saying is that for us to get positive impact, we must embrace the negative feedback in a way that we can turn it into something actionable. It doesn't need to mean that we are individually answerable or liable to what is being said. And one of our weaknesses as men, because today we are addressing as men, is that we don't take negative feedback in a positive way. We actually go physical. If it comes from our spouse, we go physical. And that's where the weakness is. And it's not all of us who do that, but a good number of the physical violence in such setting, you find that actually the man didn't know how to get the feedback, negative feedback, in a way that he can process it further. So my interest is that what are we picking from this conversation? There are actionable points. We should not defend those points. We should convert them into action. So if it means organizing young people to start having debates so that they understand what affects them in that locality, because what affects people in Busia is different from Kakamega, is from Nairobi, from Kisii, from Nyamira, from Kisumu. So if you have already gotten that concept that, like me, I've picked the point that I need to organize young people in my church, in the places I have influence, and I allow them to discuss their issues. And then we come with way forward, and then they act so that in 5-10 years, I will have impacted a sizable number among them. So that's what I've picked here. What have you picked? I don't think we need to pick that something is negative about men or something is negative about women and about kissing men, and we stop there. So that to me is it. But we must unite and start taking care of ourselves, including our boys and our young men.
Thank you, Alphonse. So before we go to parting shot, let me share some comments, because I've been reminded to share some comments we received. So let's see. Nyokabi says, why don't you leave your fake marriages, especially if you are being abused women with the victim card? Okay, I think she's meaning those women who accuse maybe men should leave their fake marriages. That's what I'm picking from that. And also there's another comment here where she's saying, Mimi ni team Tyron. Okay, she's actually revoking revoking Mogaka in this. Okay, I won't go to that. I'll go to this one where she's saying, okay, sawa sawa, so I'll leave that also. Nenda kwa hii, she's saying, okay, some comments here are tough. So I go to this one. Those men who go through domestic violence are not passed through rites of passage. Okay, so she's saying like men who she thinks, Candy thinks that men who go through domestic violence, they have not gone through the rite of passage. Maybe that one, Joy, you really need to refresh yourself. So many men go through a lot of domestic violence. Okay, there's another one. She's saying, I personally don't believe that real men face domestic violence. Okay, we want to confirm real men face domestic violence, and they're also victims. Okay, there's so many other comments on the same, but I just want to go to parting shots. So I'll go to maybe Atieno first. Atieno, you can go first and tell us which way, and in terms of the woman on this conversation, what you want us to do. Atieno, sorry, proceed.
All right, Patrick, thank you so much. So in my parting shot, on my parting shot, I just want to say that this is not a battle of men against women. And, you know, as you introduced your topic, this was to see how we can improve the health of our men so they don't get stroke, they don't get diabetes, they don't die young, and to make sure that they live a healthy life. And in my line of work, what I've seen that has worked is when men and women work in conjunction, when men and women work together as a team. And statistics has it that most married men or couples stay longer than single counterparts. And the reason is the support that they get from one another. So we need our men to take health issues like physical health, physical examination, making sure that they get preventative treatment. And this is often pushed by the women. So if you look at it from a broader sense, you realize that women are not your enemies. We are the ones that push you to go to the doctor's office to get that physical done, have the colonoscopy done, and all those treatments that you guys need to do. And as you have, what I've realized, I've worked with geriatric population, which in other words means older people population. You realize that the women are always on the keeping an eye to make sure that their husbands goes to the doctor's appointment, do those little stuff. In fact, it's the women that do most of these things. So as long as men may think that women are after them and women are fighting against them, that can be further from the truth. We want you guys, even when we talk, when we air our views, maybe our sentiments may not come out the way it should, but the motive is one. We just want you guys to get better. We want you guys to live longer. We want you guys to be there for our children, to be there for your grandchildren. A society without men is not a society. So I just want to affirm the fact that you guys are very vital to our population. There is no population that can continue without the presence of men. So I don't feel like when we come here, we are bashing you or doing something like that. But the idea is that we want you guys to be here longer. That's my parting shot. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So let me go to also maybe Reverend to make your parting shot.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Well, before I make my parting shot, I want Mike to get this one point very clear. If he says that I'm a male chauvinist, then I'll call him a feminist. I'm sorry for that. I'm talking as a man. The two are the alternatives. If I am a male chauvinist, you are a feminist. The next point, I am a firm believer in the Bible. I am a Christian. I am preaching Christianity the Bible way, not the Christianity propagated by the West, which is not read from the Bible, right? So I preach the Bible, Christianity of the Bible. That's what I'm saying. When you look at Christianity in the Bible, it is very close to our African culture. Well, you'll find in the Bible, we are actually more closer to the Jew, to the Bible than America and Europe. Even today, the way we live. Okay, the other thing, if we want to save the men, if we want to help the men, there are things that must be done as God ordained life to be. When we have women not married and living among us, and the men being accused of having impregnated that woman and not marrying her, yet this man had a wife, and by the time the woman allowed herself to relate with this man, she knew he has a wife. He has not refused to marry her as second wife, but the church, thinking like America and Europe, has refused the man to take this other wife. Then we start abusing him. We are not going to help the men if women remain unmarried and men are blamed for impregnating them while they never complained about rape. So I am saying to flee because okay, this area is very sensitive. The area of marriage, the area of sexual morals, all that is very sensitive, and it is where the ego of the man is being killed by being blamed for everything that is happening. Today, there is talk in Kenya, 4,000 girls are pregnant. Now, whom shall we blame? I'm asking myself, why are we looking for whom to blame? The only man that I can, there is a man, a chief in Mwala, who raped a girl. That one needs to be blamed. A chief in Marsabit who raped a girl, that needs to be blamed. The others, the girls knows why they allowed a man into them. So ask them why they have gotten pregnant. They never complained about a rape, but want to kill the ego of the man. I'm saying this kind of stereotype of thinking like what they do in the West, is killing the ego of men. Let us free the men. Let the able men not be abused. Let the able men take care of the number of women they can take care of. It is God gave them that ability, right? But we are abusing them and calling them all sorts of names, while actually it is not the mistake of men that the men for wife are more than the men for husband. I'm saying you're fighting with the nature. Girls mature for wife at age 18 and 19, they are ready to be wife. Men mature for husband from 25 and above. That's nature. That by itself means from the 2019 census, I looked at it from the husband-wife perspective, right? The difference between the marriable women and the women who can marry is 4 million. Nobody wants to talk about that. You only want to blame the men. Men are bad, men are bad, men are bad. Where are the women? So my take is very simple. Let men start thinking like men. Men that go to church, read the Bible again. The Bible has no allowance for single motherhood. It's not there at all. Where you have a church where single mothers are allowed to be proudly Christians and the leaders, please, that is encouraging immorality, and you are only serving to abuse the men and blame the men for what is happening for nature. Okay, so to save the men, let's not blame men for natural things. Let nature take its course, and men start thinking like men. And this is my parting shot. Men, if we take Christianity the way it has been fed to us from America and Europe, we are not moving anywhere. We will be abused, we will be abased, we will be slapped by our wives like it is in America. You see it. The men in America can't talk before their wives. You'll be slapped and you'll do nothing. And we are just here. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Reverend.
Moto sana.
Can I go next?
Yeah, go next, Mise.
Thank you. Reverend Vincent Mboya Muller, I take your I agree with what you said. But I've now grown of age, and I've not seen an African Bible. I've grown of age, and I've not known of Western Christianity, but I've known of Christianity, which actually is, we are taught to believe that we should be Christ-like, and that's where Christianity comes from. And so I hear what you've said. I totally see where you're coming from. I don't know how long you've lived in North America, and I don't know which part of Kenya that you live that you have not seen women slapping men, and so that we can all agree that domestic violence is a global issue and not a Europe or a North America problem. So I want to also agree with you that the same Bible as that you read, actually, that you believe in, It talks about a woman that actually, when you read the book of Samuel, it talks about Abigail. And the Bible doesn't just leave it there. It says it's a woman of beauty and brain. And so the position of a woman here is what we are asked to emulate, as opposed to that of the husband. Actually, the position of the husband is called, the husband is known to be foolish. So Nabal is foolish, but Abigail is a woman of beauty and brave, and you know the story. So I'll leave it there in terms of the position of women and men in the society. What I want to respond is that there is twisted concept that there is a twisted concept of domestic violence or Western culture that men are more often oppressed. Those men who live in Western countries are more oppressed than men who live in Africa. Actually, to the contrary, I've seen men who have not stood up to the plate to provide leadership in their families. We've seen men who have chosen in Africa to be alcoholics, and women have taken up after the family, and they're brought up very educated, very good and able men who are now the men that we are emulating in our society. And that tells us that it doesn't matter who, what gender doesn't really matter. What matters is someone stepping up and realizing that there is a responsibility and to spearhead that responsibility. And lastly, not lastly, but to your side, I want to say that when I say male Judaism, we all struggling. I still struggle to go to the kitchen because it was inculcated in my mind that it's not my position. But the motive of my wife asking me to go to kitchen is what will determine whether I'm going or not. If my wife tells me go cook, I'm not going to that kitchen. Okay. If my wife is using her position to compel me to go to kitchen and cook and forcing me to go to kitchen, I'm not stepping in that kitchen. I'd rather go to the restaurant, eat there, and live there. But if my wife, in love, if I also have any humanity left in me, and my wife is tired throughout our daily duties, and she was engaged in other things, and I was at home doing nothing, like we are having conversation here, and she's at work. When she shows up, I'll have to go and prepare something for her to eat, and I would expect her to do the same thing when I'm coming home. So that does not make me less of a man. That makes me shows I have a little bit of humanity in me. So I want to go to what Alphonse said. Alphonse, I want to agree with with everything that you say. We should teach our children. 0 to 8 years is a very critical age to teach and twist your child to what you want him to be. Like you are saying, we are struggling to get out of what we were taught or what was inculcated in us when we were very young. We were told, actually, when we go for that passage of right, we were told that in Kisi, when we went through initiation, we were told, as a man, you go fight, because our neighbors were the curious. Our neighbors were Luos, our neighbors were Kalenjins. We were told to go out there and fight, meaning symbolically, meaning that we can go there, marry there, bring wives home, go there, get food and bring home. And so to ask me not to relate with these people is like asking me to go away from what I was told from when I was very young. And so it's very important within that age, like you said, if it's a boy, it's my responsibility to teach him how he should carry himself. I saw my son the other day telling my wife not to touch him because my wife was trying to find out whether he has a diaper or not. And so he said, don't touch me like that, man. And I was standing by, and then I wanted to see what he was trying to say. And he said, Dad, you want to check if I have a diaper? So I realized that I should step up and find out. Maybe my son felt uncomfortable for their mother for a mother to touch her. So it is very important. But also now, because this is a main issue, men, we should invest in ourselves. We have zero respect. There is no man I've seen who has been glorified to have nothing. But a man who has something will always stand as an admiration to every women and other men. So there are many ways that we can invest in ourselves. Number one, we can invest in ourselves financially. You have to go out there. You cannot stay home and expect to make money while you're sleeping on your couch. You have to go out there and make money. Then number two, invest yourself in terms of education. Get education, because women admire men with intellect. If you have nothing to provide solutions to a family, to provide good leadership, to go out there when something has been brought out there, men expect. I think my wife admires when there are issues that relate to other issues. She admires. She wants me to go out there and do it. When there are issues of like so she expects me to be at the front line. Now, when it comes to issues of governance, my wife expects me to be at the front, and I also expect her when it comes to matters of household. I expect her to take the first line. So we have to invest in ourselves, education. If your wife is going for a PhD, you have the ability, but you also must be cautious to do so, because what's your motive of doing it? Are you competing with your wife, or are you doing it because you are doing it in order to be an enabler of improving your family? The other thing is, we also need to invest in ourselves by gathering our seeds that we have put out there. Because men, we were told, we misquote the Bible because the Bible said, "Now go ye and multiply and fill the world." And so men have become, when they have become of age, they are going everywhere and they are planting every seed. Every hole they find, they are planting seeds there. And so we are asked, if you know that you have kids out there, be responsible, man, because you don't know the kid that you're bringing tomorrow, what that kid will be. So go out there, bring these kids, because through these kids in you, they might bring repute to yourself, because we don't want to see dramas like the one that we saw the other day. The CJ being accused of being irresponsible. That is disrepute to the men. And so we want men who are responsible. You have children out there. That there are people who you owe responsibility. Go out there and do it. And also avoid domestic violence, because domestic violence shapes the behavior of our children. So we have research has it that when a child grows in a family where there is domestic violence, they actually end up having anger issues. They also end up being violent and abusive fathers, because this is what they saw their fathers doing or their parents doing. So we have a role to model our kids to grow in a healthy environment. When they grow up, they will emit the same environment to that. And also, we know that such kids, when they grow up, research has it that they end up having broken marriage. But to my sister Tieno, I wasn't going to leave you without giving you a gift. You said that we should listen to you, and you said we can only work better if we work together. However, I find this very selective application. When you're saying that we should only listen to you, whatever that you're saying, we should clap for you and go get you, flowers and congratulate you for coming and slandering our names and our reputation on social media. We have employer. The kind of a job that I do, I cannot get a job if I'm a domestic. If I'm found to be violent or abusive or gender biased. I can't get that. And when my sister comes and makes a blanket accusation that all men, all Kenyan men are abusive, are I have poor personal hygiene. What do you think when my employer is asking me, oh, by the way, you are a Kenyan, right? And I realize that all of you are abusive. Am I going to get a job? How do you expect me to support my family so that I can be relevant in my family? Because what we are putting out here in social media is what our employers are now using as a background check, security check for you to get a job. And so whatever we say here, it's of paramount importance that we think twice before putting it out here. And so as a nurse, you know that if you are known to be abusive, if you're known to if you're not of a good state of mind, you cannot get a job. So it is to us as men in the countries that we live. You are abusive, you can get a job because you are going to take the same behavior to your workplace environment. That's why we are asking you as our wives, as our sisters, when you are accusing us, it's better to actually say, and Alphonse, you're right, it's better to say all men instead of singling out. And it's better to approach this issue as a community problem, as a societal problem, so that we can all address it. We have seen women, black women or white women who have been shot by white men. You know, we have seen abusive white men. And so to say that it's only black men who are not black men, but Kenyan men who are abused is actually outrageous. And we still tell you that we are cognizant of the fact that we have some men who don't shower. We will address it. We have some men who are abusive. We will address it. We have men who are doing what makes you uncomfortable, but agree with us that they are also responsible men. They are intelligent men. They are men of good character, and you cannot take everything and trash it. And lastly, when we're having my sister Atieno, you say that Nigerian men they have. By the way, I came with my perfume here. I use perfume, and I wanted to make sure that I make sure that Atieno, my sister, knows, and my beautiful queens. We have come here. Every other man, I've never seen any man who has come on social media actually trying to trash our women. We say our queens, our beautiful black queens. We have been speaking of good of you, but yet you have come here selectively saying that we are not we don't meet the threshold. So what we want to say, we must start reading and speaking good of our men. That's when we shall realize that you have a point. But the moment you come with accusations, we are moving to the street until you agree that we will, and we are okay. By the way, we are okay to stay without you guys taking care of us, because if you know, African men are on demand. The white ladies now they realize that the true sexual performers and gambling people are found in Africa. And that's why you're seeing our white ladies now are turning to us. And that's why you're seeing the white men are going to Africa to look for our women. And so there is value within the black women. So my sisters, repent and apologize and agree that we need to address this problem together, and we shall address it together. Until then, we're in the streets at Wongi.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you.
Tell Atieno to be like the Ugandan women who kneel before their men, and the Tanzanian women who speak very humbly.
Amen. I think amen for that, Reverend. Let's go to Dennis. Dennis.
Let me go. I'll be very brief. I will not say lastly many times like Mrs. Yeah, yeah, said very many lastly, and we've really waited. Yeah, so I want to say that I've seen a lot of men who used to be very dirty, but when they got married, they are now changed and they are very clean. So if you are a woman in a man's life and your man is dirty, you are the one to blame because women have all the tools to ensure the man changes. They can even, withdraw certain services, and the man will be clean. So therefore, if you are a woman, married woman, and you are still complaining that your husband is dirty, I mean, there must be something wrong with you, and you are the one to blame. Otherwise, you can withdraw certain services, and the man will heed to your call and behave. As a wind up, I want to highlight certain issues about leadership in men. Men, when you are a leader, it doesn't mean you are perfect in everything. Your wife could have strengths that you don't have as a man. So the problem we have with some men is that because they pay dowry, they just want to think that their ideas are superb than those of their women. And therefore, as men, let us embrace dialogue. Let us not be autocratic. Let us not be imperialists. Let us not be dictators in our marriages or in our whatever jurisdiction that we are leading. We must be able to consult. Consulting and be embracing dialogue does not make you less of a man. Yeah. So because I've seen women that have done great, including my mother, who is doing so great. And sometimes she even does more than my dad does. But some men just want to lazy around and get some briefings. They are not proactive. They just want to lazy around. They don't have an idea. They have no plan on what needs to be done. And before you come out complaining about this and that is not going right, be proactive, be involved in the planning and execution of everything that you expect done in your family. Don't just come back later in the evening to mark an exam that you did not set. So you must set the exam, give instructions on what you expect to be done and how whatever you expect should be done, and then later check if everything was done right. Another issue that I want to talk about is that religion, as I indicated, I'm a Christian and the Bible inspires me a lot. But I've seen situations whereby you want to solve an issue and somebody says, blame Satan and says, let us pray. And then let us now break. You end up sweeping that issue under the carpet because of, you are too religious. You just want to blame Satan, blanket whatever situation that has been brought before you as a leader, that this is the work of the devil. What do we play? We do now. Let us you cause all those drama, and you tell people to walk away. The will of God will be done. Come on, let us not be extreme when it comes to religion. Let us be real. We are human beings. Let us not behave so heavenly and speak in languages that those around you cannot understand. This business of speaking in tongues, there is an issue here that you need to pronounce yourself on. And then you go into tongues and we don't understand what you are saying. You pray and you tell us to walk away. You are sweeping things under the carpet, and sweeping things under the carpet is very bad. So let us be human beings. Let us not be too religious, complicate situations, and use it as a ticket of sweeping things under the carpet. Another one before I go to my last point is the very pertinent issue that has been raised about spending. I'm one of those people who is a careless spender. We are not accountable as men, and this is a problem. A man does not want his wife to know how much he earns. A man does not want to be held accountable on how he spent the money that he earns or the money that he has. Men sometimes spend lavishly, so carelessly, and because they are heads of their families, they are not to be questioned. So men, we must, think and spend wisely. And sometimes I'm very comfortable when I entrust my wife with money. If I give her money, I know that is safe. But if I have money, I will subconsciously spend carelessly, even when I purpose to do this and that. So any money that I save is that which I've spent on what I wanted to do. But otherwise, any money in my pocket will just end up, getting wasted, and I cannot account for it. So understand your weakness as a man. If you are that careless spender or loose spender, give that money to your wife. Yeah? And then hold her accountable, because if she has that strength to be accountable and spend money wisely, then she's your helper. Why should you be afraid of giving her and trusting her with the money that you have? And therefore, by so doing, you will also be able to complement each other, and she'll be able to help you in areas that you have weaknesses. We have a pending business that I indicated earlier that are passed on to children by parents. Most children, even at our age, have to build a house for their parents so that they can begin now building theirs, and so on and so forth. So as parents of these days, let us learn to deal with challenges of our time. Do not just spend money in alcohol. You are celebrated highly in places or drinking dens and such kind of things, and you do not have a house for your family. You expect your children to come build for you when you are old. You are 70, you are 60 or 80 years. And that is when your child is struggling to build for you a house. And if your child does not build for you a house, you want to shame this child and say this child is bure kabisa, hajajengea mzazi wake. Who is supposed to build for you a house? You had your time. Build for yourself a house. Do not accumulate problems for your children, so that by the time they grow up, and sometimes it becomes very difficult, like for the Kenyan situation. Sometimes getting a job is hard. Someone gets a job at 50 something, and the parent did not build a house. This child is supposed to build a house for the parent, take care of his children and family, build his own house and such kind of things. So let us not project the burden of that which we are supposed to do for ourselves to our children as parents and as men. Lastly, I've already talked about it, that parents should invest and have some income when they grow old, so that they stop being liabilities to their children. And mostly this is what happens, that parents are liabilities to their children, and sometimes we do have a lot of issues coming up, because if your wife sends money to our parents, it becomes an issue. If you send money to your parents, it becomes an issue. And sometimes either of you has to hide whatever she or he sends to the parents, to the partner. Because if you open up and say my parent needs this and such kind of things, this issue brings a lot of issues. Maybe this one we will talk about it in another forum. But thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you so much for the show. That is all that I wanted to say. But I've seen this beautiful queen under Miss Territory wants to say something. I don't know. I hope she's not gonna say that we are dirty. We are very clean, in fact. Thank you.
How clean are you? How clean are you, Dennis?
The person in this house has not complained. So until she complains, give us. If you have any complaint about Mise not being very clean, you are at liberty to share with us. Thank you, anyway.
Actually, what I could like to comment is that if you're, like, for instance, if your spouse is dirty, we also as women, we have a contribution to that. So ukiona mzee wako aogi, mpeleke kwa bafu muoshe. If they are not brushing their teeth, talk to them. Hey, mwambie sweetie yenyewe, meno yako ni chafu, ukicheka kwa watu unaniaibisha. So can you please try and brush your teeth? For instance, like the other time you were saying about underwears. For sure, my husband doesn't know even the price of a underwear, hata socks. He doesn't, ajui. Seriously, he doesn't know, ask him. Since we got married, ajui socks inanunuliwa pesa ngapi, ajui underwear inanunuliwa pesa ngapi. Even the time when he was here and I was back in Africa, he was alone here. I used, like, when he used to come back home, like, nanunua na pack na mwekea pale. So to kuwahimiza wanawake kuambia you have to play a role in
Amanda Siega here.
So mkimwona hapa anacheka hapa, kuna mtu kando yake who is taking good care of him. So, yeah, so women don't complain a lot, so you have to take part and clean your spouses.
Wow, amazing.
Patrick, hata unge mute mic. Usaidie voice out.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Thank you very much. I mean, this is the kind of, I think, women we need, right? So I won't talk. I just want Alphonse to take it from there. Alphonse, you have seen now, the standards have been set for women.
No, I am a married man. So I didn't get news there. Under normal circumstance, what was shared is what should happen, or more. But there are different dynamics that it's not part of my parting shots. So Mr. had very many finalists, but my brother Dennis had only one finally. But I thought he will take shorter than Mr. It was a shock on me. So I must congratulate Reverend Mboya for taking shorter time to conclude compared to the rest. Yeah, it has been a good show. So, and I think I want to conclude it this way. One, we must make raising young men our business as the elderly to them, even though most of us may not have gone through the same process as we would have wished. Let's make it deliberate, both to our own children, but also to our immediate family and our environment. Because for sure, young men need some nurture and they need some guidance. So we must help them out. So we can't help them what we are not. So that's why we must make a move to strive on one or two things. There are things we can still do. There are those ones that we may not do because of how we were brought up this far. But let's do something. Let's not leave it empty, so that young men coming after us have something to inherit from us going forward. That's number one. Number two, unity of men always brings victory in all aspects, whether it is in science or in military, but specifically this one, we are thinking of unity of men in society, social matters, and in family matters. So let's know that we can go fast when we are individual or when we are alone, but if we are united, if we are more than one, we can actually go far. So I encourage men to take care of themselves by being united, so that they can pull their heads together, their resources together, their minds together, to achieve that which they could have not achieved individually. And that includes salvaging their marriages in the situations where they didn't know how to handle conflicts, and it was practically doable for those ones, or raising their children, including those who are not born within the marital locks, what we call wedlock, so that again they don't raise children who are bitter with men, yet they could have done something, regardless of how they are relating with the mother or mothers to those children. 4, I want to say that we must now be deliberate about raising specific issues about men, and let's discuss those specific things conclusively. There are so many things. Let's not jump into everything when we have one topic. Like today, we had a topic of why we must unite, and then start taking care of ourselves. So in such a situation, let's focus on that topic alone. There are many other things that are still relevant, but if we focus on that alone, we will harness more. And therefore, I think we need to proceed by increasing our focus, refocusing more and more, so that we can get more results. Lastly, that's my first lastly. We must be guided. I am a student of science who has done sciences up to my university level, but I'm also a believer who has believed from that who got born again from Form 1, and I've come to a conclusion that whether it is science or church where I go, or what others call religion or spiritual issues, it's a matter of belief. To be honest with you, I've never seen an atom, but I believe there is an atom. And even those who teach me, when I interrogated them deeper, they have never seen it. But they still calculate even Avogadro's constant using that atom and tell people atom is a fact in science. But again, the same people who believe that and have never seen it don't believe that there's God simply because they have never seen it. And I think that's where our stupidity, our foolishness, our ignorance begins, which we need to run away from. So in general, what I anticipate is that let's use our belief system well. Whether our belief system is anchored on material facts or material truths, which is what the spirituality is all about, or material relational matters, which is what we are discussing here. So it is in that view that we can grow together. Now, lastly, my second lastly and the last one for sure, is that we cannot be men alone in society. So for the sake of men, we should know that men have never been favored by society, whether it's the society of human beings or lions or leopards. Those ones, when you get old, the society throws you away and they get a stronger member to replace you. So it is upon us to work so well with our spouses, for those of us who are married and those who are not, should actually think of getting married, because that the only person you have as a support system is that woman that you get married to when you get older, whether it is one or multiple. That woman, you must treat her well. But don't create a situation to rely on your children. Create a life when they can rely on themselves, but you have something to rely on your own and spouse at your old age. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alphonse, for that parting shot. Now, I think that's where we will finish this session tonight. Thank you, everyone who tuned in and who actually maybe give their own perspective to this conversation, your questions, and also bringing this alive. So I want to thank you all panelists for this conversation. Asanteni sana. Looking forward to have you guys soon. Miss, and I was really glad to see actually your other person.
So I know Alphonse will sanitize it some other time.
Yes.
No, Miss, I'm a very good young man. So you can count on me more than you can even count on Reverend.
God bless you all. I'm happy to see you.
There's something I like to say about the Reverend. You are very honest in your opinion. And I think one thing I learned from the whole discussion is that let's not be holier than thou. That's one thing I got from you, that let's be real in the way we are addressing issues. So I totally...
Let me tell you something, Mice and my friends. The Bible is the most realistic book on this earth. It talks things as they are. It calls everything as it is. If you follow the Bible, you are right. But we have a problem. We follow theories outside the Bible. And that's your goodness. God bless you, guys.
Okay, that's where we will end it. Good night, guys. See you again.
Thank you.
soon. Good night to you too, guys.
Ninajua shida zako, hivi nitazitatua.